Chapter 1723. Naxami is like a mustard seed? If that's the case, the Crown Prince must have a profound understanding of the law of space. No one has been able to find him for millions of years. It seems like this place is hidden very well. Let's search again. Ling Xiao said slowly. If even a sage couldn't find it, it would be difficult for them to find it as well. However, if what Ji Feishuan said was true, the War God Elixir Seal Pavilion was definitely not simple. It might really be the place where the Crown Prince committed suicide. While Ling Xiao and the rest were searching the War God Elixir Seal Pavilion, Ji Chen and Yun Yang came to a secret chamber together. The secret chamber was located in the middle of a mountain. It looked very secluded, but there seemed to be a sea of blood in the secret chamber. Streams of blood qi intertwined, containing extremely terrifying fluctuations. In the middle of the sea of blood, a blood-red flame rose as if it could burn everything. An old man in a blood-red robe sat cross-legged in it, exuding an aura that made one's heart tremble. After seeing the old man in the blood-red robe, Yun Yang and Ji Chen bowed respectfully and said, "Greetings, Master." The old man in the blood-red robe had reached the peak of the 9th Revolution half-saint realm. He was also an extremely powerful alchemist in the Elixir Seal Mountain, Shui Yuanzi. No one would have thought that Ji Chen and Yun Yang were actually fellow disciples. You shouldn't have provoked Enai Shang. Enai Shang, Gao Yang, and Wu Xiong are the 3 holy sons of the War God Temple all here? The old man in the blood-red robe slowly opened his eyes. There was a trace of evil light flickering in his eyes, which made Yun Yang and Ji Chen's hearts tremble. "Master, we didn't expect the 3 holy sons of the War God Temple to come to Tian capital. We were about to get the War God Elixir Seal Pavilion. Who would have thought that such an accident would happen?" Ji Chen said with an ugly expression. "Yes, Master. That Long Outyin is too despicable. He actually managed to neutralize the soul-stealing power that you left in the tribulation-breaking pill. Even I was fooled." Yun Yang said with a wry smile. "Long Outyin? Do you know who he is?" Shui Yuanzi said faintly. "Who is he? He seems to be a First Revolution half-saint. He's probably just a pro-disciple of the War God Temple." Yun Yang and Ji Chen said doubtfully. "Big mistake. Long Outyin is the master of the Battle Hall. The ultimate treasure of the Battle God Hall, the flipping sky seal, is in his hands." Blood-red flames seemed to shoot out from Shui Yuanzi's eyes. "What? Controls the cyclic sky seal?" Ji Chen and Yun Yang looked at each other and saw the disbelief in each other's eyes. After all, the masters of the 9 lineages of the War God Hall were all famous in the world. Almost all of them were Sage Wei realm experts. They had never imagined that the cyclic sky seal, which no one in the War God Hall had recognized as its master for a million years, would actually fall into Ling Xiao's hands. There's no need to doubt this news. However, the Battle Hall Master and the 3 holy princes of the Battle God Temple are here, so we must investigate this matter. Ji Chen, you must find out who sent them. If I'm not mistaken, they will be the biggest obstacle to you obtaining the life secret technique." Blood Yuanzi said slowly. "Yes. Master, what about the secret realm below the War God Pill Seal Pavilion? If I can get the Divine Reflection Crown Prince's monarch bloodline, I'll definitely be able to obtain the complete life secret art from Mount Musashi." Ji Chen said unwillingly. "It doesn't matter. It's not that easy for them to find the secret realm. They don't even have the key to open it. How are they going to open it?" Blood Yuanzi said nonchalantly. Boom. Suddenly, the bloody light around Blood Yuanzi bloomed as if there were bloody lotuses floating in the air. They were mysterious and unfathomable, vaguely revealing an extremely strange world. What? How are they able to find the place where the Divine Reflection Crown Prince committed suicide? Blood Yuanzi's expression changed drastically, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Blood light flickered all over his body. In an instant, an incomparably powerful void fluctuation was emitted in the void. Shui Yuanzi disappeared from the secret chamber in an instant. Ji Chen and Yun Yang looked at each other and saw the same disbelief in each other's eyes. This was because they had heard Blood Yuanzi's words. The place where the divine reflection crown prince committed suicide had actually been opened? War God Pilseal Pavilion. A dazzling door of light appeared in front of Ling Xiao and the others. It exuded a mysterious and vast fluctuation as if it contained an unknown world. Ji Feishuan's glabella emitted a dazzling light and formed a mysterious connection with the door of light, causing the surrounding void to tremble slightly. Ling Xiao and the others looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. Initially, they had checked countless times and found nothing strange. However, they did not expect Ji Feishuan's glabella to suddenly emit light and gather all the blood qi in her glabella, unintentionally opening the door of light in front of them. I can feel that this should be the place where the crown prince committed suicide. Ji Feishuan said slowly with a strange look in her eyes. Could it be because of your bloodline? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he suddenly thought of a possibility. According to what Ji Feishuan said, the crown prince had the bloodline of the great emperor in his body. However, he eventually went crazy because he could not control the bloodline of the great emperor and killed countless people. In the end, he chose to commit suicide. The key to opening the place of suicide was the bloodline of the great emperor. Ji Feishuan had unintentionally activated the vast bloodline power in her body in the Sea of Enlightenment in the Void Saint world. An invincible great empress had even appeared. Ling Xiao even suspected that Ji Feishuan had completely activated the bloodline of the great emperor, which was why she could trigger the place of suicide. This was the only explanation that could explain everything that was happening in front of them. Let's go. Let's go in and take a look. In the end, Ling Xiao, Ji Feishuan, and Ai Shang, and the others made up their minds and walked into the door of light in front of them. Rumble. Dazzling divine light bloomed in front of everyone's eyes as a chaotic mist filled the air. Everyone felt as if they had arrived at the beginning of the world. Everything was extremely primitive. In front of everyone was a chaotic void. There was no up, down, left, or right. There were no four directions. They could not even feel the passage of time and space. There was only an eternal and monotonous chaos. Swoosh. In the distance, a dazzling divine light shot up into the sky and bloomed like a heavenly pillar. In the middle of the dazzling divine light, there was an ancient tree that was covered in a faint chaotic aura. It looked real and illusory at the same time. Chapter 1724. What kind of tree is that? Gao Yang could not help but exclaim. His eyes were filled with disbelief. After everyone got closer, they noticed that it was an ancient tree that was only a few meters tall. Its entire body revealed a chaotic luster, and its branches were coiled like a cage. It was vigorous and powerful, and there were numerous verdant leaves hanging on it. The green leaves looked like they were carved out of flawless green jade. They were extremely exquisite and emitted a strange luster. The leaves trembled slightly on the branches and emitted a chaotic aura. Upon closer inspection, there seemed to be a vast world hidden within the green leaf. It was incomparably mysterious. There were a total of 3,000 leaves on the ancient tree. They swayed gently as chaotic aura filled the air. It was as if 3,000 worlds were blooming in front of the crowd. A majestic aura erupted, causing their hearts to tremble. Under the ancient tree sat a young man in a dark green dragon robe and a jade crown on his head. He was about 20 years old and was extraordinarily handsome. His skin was as translucent as jade, and his eyes still shone with resplendent starlight. Even though there was no sign of life on his body anymore. Chaos, an ancient tree, and a corpse. This combination gave off an indescribable feeling of strangeness. Could this be the crown prince of the great Zhou divine nation? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He could faintly see that the young man was emitting a faint saint aura. His body was immortal and there was a mysterious fragrance. He must have been here for tens of millions of years. To be able to keep his body intact in such an environment, it seemed like this young man had already reached the sage realm when he was alive. Buzz. Ji Feishuan's glabella shone brightly as if there was a mysterious eye. At this moment, it suddenly emitted a bright light that soared into the sky and shone on the young man's body. A mysterious line seemed to have formed between the two of them. It contained an extremely mysterious fluctuation. Boom. The young man's body suddenly emitted a bright light. Mysterious nine-colored blood light spread out from his body and followed the line and slowly merged into Ji Feishuan's glabella. Ji Feishuan's white robes fluttered in the wind as the primal chaos qi filled the air. The Empress silhouette in between her eyebrows seemed to become clearer and clearer, causing Ji Feishuan to become ethereal and mysterious. An ancient, majestic, mysterious, and vast aura erupted from Ji Feishuan's body. Ling Xiao looked at Ji Feishuan in front of him. She seemed to be accepting the inheritance of that young man, but it didn't seem like it. It was extremely strange. Rumble. The primal chaos in all directions began to tremble and surrounded Ji Feishuan and the young man. The resplendent ancient tree swayed as a vast amount of vitality descended and fused with Ji Feishuan and the young man. Who would have thought that even if I killed myself here, I would still not be able to escape this fate? The young man let out a soft sigh and glanced at Ji Feishuan. His eyes were filled with helplessness and vicissitudes of life. He came back to life? The white crane shuddered and could not help but ask. Shoo, don't talk. It should be a remnant soul left behind by this man. Chen Xian stopped the white crane, but his eyes were also filled with shock. Who are you? Ji Feishuan looked at the young man and asked slowly. The young man replied, I'm the God Illumination Crown Prince. The two of them seemed to have fallen into a mysterious state, one asking and the other answering, ignoring everything around them. It was as if they were conversing in a separate space and time. The God Illumination Crown Prince? The God Illumination Crown Prince from 10 million years ago when the great Zhou divine nation was at its peak? The person who was said to be as talented as the Great Void Emperor? Why did you kill yourself here? Ji Feishuan asked in shock. The Great Void Emperor? I'm not as good as him. It's a pity that I can't fight with him. That's the biggest regret of my life. Don't you know the reason why I killed myself here? The God Illumination Crown Prince said calmly. Rumor has it that you couldn't control the Great Emperor's bloodline in your body and killed hundreds of millions of your people. That's why you killed yourself here. However, I'm afraid that's not the case now. Ji Feishuan said. Couldn't control the Great Emperor's bloodline? Killed hundreds of millions of my people? If that's the case, it's not wrong. Unfortunately, even if I killed hundreds of millions of my people and sacrificed them, I still couldn't control that power. I still couldn't escape my fate. However, now that it's on you, can you break this fate? The God Illumination Crown Prince sneered. Killing hundreds of millions of your people and sacrificing them just to control the Great Emperor's bloodline? You're crazy. If that's the fate you're talking about, I'm definitely different from you. Ji Feishuan said in shock as if she had come across an unimaginable secret. You're different from me? It's still too early to say that. The so-called Great Zhou Divine Nation and the so-called Ji clan are just other people's cultivation cauldrons. I can't escape this fate, and neither can you. The God Illumination Crown Prince said as if he was mocking himself. Cultivation cauldron? Ji Feishuan, won't be anyone's cultivation cauldron. God Illumination Crown Prince, what do you know? Ji Feishuan's expression changed as she said coldly. Ji Feishuan? What a good name. Unfortunately, this is fate and a calamity. No one is an exception. Unless there's a great emperor who can change your fate, you'll never be able to escape your fate. The God Illumination Crown Prince shook his head. What do you mean? Ji Feishuan was a little anxious. Ask yourself, then ask her. You'll know the answer. I'll give you the ancient tree of life, my descendant. Although I'm filled with despair, I still hope that you can succeed. The God Illumination Crown Prince stared at Ji Feishuan's forehead with a trace of sadness in his eyes. Rumble. After the God Illumination Crown Prince finished speaking, his body shone brightly as if he had transformed into the Tao. A rain of light floated out from his body. The God Illumination Crown Prince's gaze landed on Ling Xiao. His body suddenly trembled as a trace of disbelief and joy appeared in his eyes. Rumble. However, before the God Illumination Crown Prince could finish his sentence, he turned into a rain of light and merged with the ancient tree of life, causing it to become even more dazzling. What did the God Illumination Crown Prince mean by his last words? Chapter 1725. The conversation between the Divine Radiance Crown Prince and Ji Feishuan seemed to be hinting at something, but it was very vague. He only vaguely heard the words cauldron, fate, and tree of life, which made him very confused. The ancient tree of life instantly shone brightly and turned into a stream of light that shot into Ji Feishuan's sea of consciousness between her eyebrows and disappeared. I didn't expect it to be the legendary ancient tree of life. And Ai Shang also sighed softly. The ancient tree of life was a natural spiritual root. Legend had it that it contained the power of life origin. It was a spiritual root of heaven and earth on the same level as the path understanding tree and phantom ancient tree. Legend had it that when the chaos was first created, the primal chaos ancestral tree of world gave birth to thousands of worlds and countless lives. Later on, a great war swept across thousands of worlds, causing the world tree to collapse and turn into countless natural spiritual roots. Those natural spiritual roots were incomparably precious and could almost suppress the fate of a great world. Just like the illusory demon ancient tree that gave birth to the devil race, it was the devil race's tree of life. The ancient tree of life was an innate spiritual root on the same level as the illusory demon ancient tree. Now that Ji Feishuan had obtained the ancient tree of life, everyone was shocked and envious. However, they were also very confused about the fate and cauldron that the Divine Illumination Crown Prince mentioned. Ling Xiao felt that after Ji Feishuan merged with the ancient tree of life, the aura around her became even more mysterious, and he could not see through it. Especially in Ji Feishuan's mind, the peerless empress was very lifelike, as if she would awaken at any time. Could it be the fate that the Divine Illumination Crown Prince mentioned originated from this empress? Ling Xiao was confused. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled as Ji Feishuan woke up from that mysterious state. Her eyes were filled with divine light and showed a hint of confusion. Junior Sister Ji, what did the Divine Illumination Crown Prince mean? Ling Xiao looked at Ji Feishuan and asked with a hint of confusion in his eyes. I'm not very sure either. However, this might be related to the bloodline of the Ji clan. I vaguely feel that perhaps I can only find out the reason after I become a saint. Ji Feishuan said slowly. Junior Sister Ji, you obtained the Divine Illumination Crown Prince's bloodline, inheritance, and the ancient tree of life. And Ai Shang asked, if Ji Feishuan could obtain the complete secret of life technique, there would be no need for them to enter the Martial Mountain Range. After all, it seemed like the great Zhou divine nation had many secrets and no one knew what dangers lurked in the Martial Mountain Range. The Divine Radiance Crown Prince's inheritance doesn't contain the life secret technique. If he wanted to obtain the life secret technique, he would have to make a trip to the Martial Hidden Mountain. However, with the help of the Tree of Life, my chances of obtaining the secret magics of life will naturally be much higher than others. Ji Feishuan said. The group left the place where the Crown Prince committed suicide, but there were still questions about why he did so and the power of the imperial bloodline. Perhaps only after Ji Feishuan became a saint would she have a chance to find the answers to these questions. The War God Elixir Seal Pavilion was still very quiet. With the protection of the Cyclic Sky Seal, no one knew what was going on here. Junior Sister Ji, are you planning to reveal your identity? Ling Xiao asked. Those who could enter the Martial Hidden Mountain Range had to be recognized by the royal family of the great Zhou divine nation. Once Ji Feishuan's identity was exposed, it would be unknown if she could enter the Martial Hidden Mountain Range. Ji Chufeng might even do everything he could to stop Ji Feishuan from entering the Martial Hidden Mountain Range like 1,000,000 years ago. Of course, what I have lost, I must take it back fair and square. However, I still have to wait until the Martial Hidden Mountain Range opens. Although I'm not afraid of Ji Chufeng, I don't want to implicate everyone. Ji Feishuan's eyes glowed as she spoke slowly. Alright, no matter what, we will support you. Ling Xiao nodded and said, this is the leaf of the ancient tree of life. Once refined, not only will it strengthen one's life origin, but it will also be tainted with a trace of life aura. At that time, one will have a greater chance of comprehending the life secret technique. These are for everyone. Light flashed in Ji Feishuan's palm and dozens of green leaves appeared instantly. They were crystal clear and exuded a majestic life essence. Thank you, junior sister Ji. Ni Shang, Wu Xiong, and Gao Yang didn't stand on ceremony and each took a leaf. The leaf of the ancient tree of life was indeed very useful to them. Especially after reaching the high level of the half-saint realm, if one wanted to take that final step and become a saint, one would need an extremely deep accumulation of experience. Outside the Elixir's Seal Pavilion of the War God. Hidden in the darkness, Shui Yuanzi's eyes suddenly flashed, and his face turned extremely ugly. This is the aura of the ancient tree of life? They really opened the place where the divine illumination crown prince committed suicide. No, I worked so hard to find the place where the divine illumination crown prince committed suicide. How can I just give it to someone else? So what if it's the cyclic sky seal? Naturally, someone wants to deal with you. Shui Yuanzi's face was filled with unwillingness. Whether it was Ni Shang or Ling Xiao, who had the cyclic sky seal, he couldn't afford to offend them. It seemed like he had to think of another way to obtain the ancient tree of life. The War God Temple? Hee, you're just an arrow at the end of its flight. The Elixir Seal Mountain will replace the War God Temple with you guys. Shui Yuanzi glanced coldly at the Elixir Seal Pavilion of the War God before hiding in the darkness again. Is he from the Elixir Seal Mountain or the Great Zhou Divine Nation? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. His senses were extremely sharp. Although Shui Yuanzi had concealed his aura, Ling Xiao still felt a trace of prying. He couldn't help but sneer in his heart. Although the figure was very obscure, his cultivation had reached the 9th Revolution half-saint realm. This also confirmed his guess that there was indeed someone behind Ji Chen and Yun Yang. However, what they didn't know was that Ling Xiao had already taken the things left behind by the divine illumination crown prince. Ling Xiao had refined a few leaves from the ancient tree of life. His originally boundless life origin had become even stronger, and his entire body was filled with exuberant vitality. It was extremely mysterious. The wordless heavenly book also seemed to like the aura of the ancient tree of life very much. Unfortunately, it contained too little power and couldn't satisfy the wordless heavenly book's needs. The next day, 2 uninvited guests came to the Elixir Seal Pavilion of the War God. Greetings, Lords of the War God Temple. His Highness has set up a prodigy banquet in the Imperial Garden. He invites all of you to attend. Chapter 1726. Who's your Highness? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he asked. The cultivation of this young man and woman had both reached the First Revolution half-saint realm. Their aura was powerful, and their talent was extraordinary. Their master must be very strong to have such subordinates. The 2 of them looked respectful, but there was a kind of arrogance in their bones. My Highness is the Crown Prince, Ji Tian. The young man smiled. Crown Prince Ji Tian. Hearing this name, Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. He had heard this name when he first came to Sky Capital. Crown Prince, Ji Tian, was a peerless talent. His cultivation had reached the 8th Revolution half-saint realm. He was the holy son of the 9 imperial gates and the most promising person to obtain the secret skill of life. Who was invited to the prodigy's banquet? Ling Xiao asked. Those who are qualified to attend the prodigy's banquet are all young prodigies. They are at least First Revolution half-saint realm. The 9 imperial gates, 5 elements saint sect, heavenly curse sect, and Pill Seal Mountain have all sent their prodigies. There are also some peerless talents from the imperial family and other kingdoms. The young man said slowly. Good. I got it. Ling Xiao nodded and said. The prodigy's banquet is tomorrow. Lords of the War God Temple, please come. I'll take my leave. The young man and woman bowed to Ling Xiao, Ni Shang, and the rest, then turned and left. Prodigy's banquet? I've heard of that Ji Tian. He's not a good person. He once killed a disciple of my War God Temple. This time, I really want to meet that bastard. Gao Yang sneered. To hold the prodigy's banquet at this time, I'm afraid that Crown Prince Ji Tian's scheme is not small. Could it be for the martial treasure mountain? Wu Xiong asked doubtfully. No matter what, he has sent the invitation. Of course, we have to go and take a look. It's a good opportunity to see the prodigies of other sects. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. The second day. The Imperial Garden was located in the Imperial City. It was also the core of the entire sky capital. There were all kinds of exotic flowers and strange rocks here. Dense spiritual mist filled the air. It was like a fairyland. The news of Crown Prince Ji Tian holding the Prodigies Banquet had already spread throughout the entire sky capital. Countless geniuses were proud to be able to participate in the Prodigies Banquet. However, it was a pity that the Talents Banquet was not for ordinary people. One had to be at least a First Revolution half-saint to be qualified to participate in the Talents Banquet. When Ling Xiao, Ji Feishuan, Enai Shang, Wu Xiong, and Gao Yang arrived at the Imperial Garden, they saw that there were already many figures in the garden. Most of them were young men and women. They were vigorous, handsome, and beautiful. All of them had confident smiles on their faces as they chatted with each other. The moment Ling Xiao's group of 5 appeared, they attracted everyone's attention. It was mainly because of Ji Feishuan and Enai Shang. One was like a graceful and luxurious peony while the other was like an otherworldly snow lotus. Their beauty and unique temperament made the hundreds of blooming flowers in the Imperial Garden pale in comparison. Their auras were too outstanding, causing many female geniuses to feel ashamed of their inferiority. Some even revealed looks of jealousy in their eyes. On the other hand, those handsome young men did not conceal the passion in their eyes as they stared at Ji Feishuan and Enai Shang. Ling Xiao stood between Ji Feishuan and Enai Shang and instantly noticed this change. He could not help but laugh bitterly in his heart. It seemed that being too beautiful was also a troublesome matter. Senior Uncle Long, you're quite lucky with women. Didn't you see the gazes of the surrounding people? They looked envious and jealous as if they couldn't wait to be the ones standing between junior sister Ji and senior sister Enai Shang. Gao Yang and Wu Xiong winked and laughed as they gloated over Ling Xiao's misfortune. Junior sister Enai Shang, we meet again. Suddenly, a hearty voice was heard. A handsome young man in white walked towards Enai Shang with a faint smile on his face. He exuded a clean aura and looked very mysterious. His cultivation was not weaker than Enai Shang's at all. He had also reached the 8th Revolution half-saint realm. He looked perfect and flawless, like an elegant young master in a chaotic world. Many girls in the surrounding blushed when they saw him, and their eyes were filled with adoration. All of them were extremely excited. Lu Yun? Why are you here? Enai Shang frowned slightly and said plainly. On the other hand, Ling Xiao had a strange look in his eyes. The guy in front of him was actually the holy son of the heavenly cursed sect, Lu Yun. Ling Xiao had ridden the white jade elephant and killed him once in the Divine Spirit Valley in the Void Saint world. Junior sister Enai Shang, you want to enter the martial treasury mountain, right? Why don't you follow me? I guarantee that junior sister Enai Shang will obtain the secret skill of life. Lu Yun smiled faintly and said confidently. What a boastful tone. You dare to guarantee that senior sister Enai Shang will obtain the secret skill of life? Gao Yang seemed to dislike Lu Yun very much and could not help but scoff. Holy son Gao Yang? I'm sorry for the disrespect. I heard that you were defeated by senior brother Wang Dao previously. Since senior brother Wang Dao is here today, why don't the two of you spar again? Lu Yun glanced at Gao Yang with a hint of mockery in his eyes. Wang Dao? If he wasn't despicable and used a flawless sage treasure to sneak an attack on me, he would have been defeated by me. Gao Yang's face turned ugly when he heard Wang Dao's name, and he said coldly. Being defeated by Wang Dao could be said to be Gao Yang's humiliation. The two of them were fighting over a origin source sacred herb in a secret realm, but Gao Yang was defeated by Wang Dao in the end. He even lost the origin source sacred herb. Gao Yang, do you want to die? With your insignificant cultivation, you won't be my big brother's match even if you cultivate for another 100 years. An ear-piercing voice sounded, and a few extraordinary young men walked over from afar. They clustered around a handsome young man in pure gold armor with red hair fluttering in the wind. It was the holy son of the Five Elements Saint sect, Wang Dao. The one who spoke was a young man beside Wang Dao who looked very similar to him. He had the cultivation of a first revolution half-saint and was Wang Dao's younger brother, Wang Yan. Wang Dao, you actually made a breakthrough? Gao Yang's gaze trembled slightly, and his face turned even uglier. Wang Dao's cultivation had already reached the 8th revolution half-saint realm. However, Wang Dao was previously a 7th revolution half-saint like him. Looking at Wang Dao's aura, he had probably just made a breakthrough. Gao Yang, I still have to thank you for giving me the flaming heart lotus, which allowed me to pass through the 8th nirvana tribulation. The gap between us is getting bigger and bigger. Wang Dao said indifferently, and his gaze was incomparably cold and arrogant. Wang Dao and Lu Yun stood side by side. The disciples of the Heavenly Curse sect and the Five Elements Sacred sect had a mocking look on their faces. They faintly surrounded Ling Xiao and the others, and the atmosphere was a little strange. Your Long Outyen. Wang Yan's gaze swept across Enai Shang, Gao Yang and the others. When it finally landed on Ling Xiao, his body suddenly trembled, and he couldn't help but exclaim. His eyes were filled with shock and anger. Chapter 1727. In the Void Saint world, Wang Yan wanted to snatch Ling Xiao's 10 Saint Steel. In the end, not only did he fail to obtain the 10 Saint Steel, but he was also killed by Ling Xiao. This was a great humiliation for Wang Yan. He thought about it almost every day. If he met Ling Xiao in the realm of gods, he would definitely use Ling Xiao's flesh and blood to wash away the humiliation on him. Wang Yan did not expect to meet Long Outyan here. The anger and killing intent in his heart was instantly aroused. A terrifying aura spread out from his body like a burning flame, locking Ling Xiao in place. Long Outyan? This name seemed to have some kind of magical power. Lu Yun and Wang Dao were originally calm, but at this moment, their expressions changed. Their gazes fell on Ling Xiao, and a chilling aura exuded from their bodies. In the Sacred Spirit Valley, Ling Xiao rode on the psychic sacred bone white jade dragon elephant to kill them and snatch all their sacred badges. This was also a great humiliation. Who were Lu Yun and Wang Dao? They were the saints of the Heavenly Curse sect and the Five Elements Sacred sect. Other than a few saints in the sect who were of similar status as them, they were the ones who stood by their words among the hundreds of thousands of disciples. They had the power to decide the life and death of others. However, in the Void Saint world, they had suffered a great loss in the hands of a divine king. It's really you. This is really a case of searching high and low only to find you by chance. Long Outyen, now that you don't have the psychic sacred bone to rely on, how do you want to die? Wang Dao stared at Ling Xiao. His eyes were like divine lamps, and his killing intent was blazing. Senior Uncle Long, how did you offend these two fellows? Look at their eyes, it's as if they hate you to the core. Did you sleep with their wives or kill their parents? Gao Yang asked with his eyes wide open. His eyes were filled with doubt. Enai Shang and Wu Xiong were also puzzled. They felt that the situation had changed a little too quickly. Why was the spearhead suddenly pointing at Ling Xiao? Ling Xiao rolled his eyes helplessly. Gao Yang's mouth was a little annoying. He was almost comparable to Black Donkey. So it's you guys? Didn't I just kill you once in the Void Saint world? Is there a need to seek revenge for the smallest grievance? Do you want me to kill you guys again? This is the realm of gods. If you guys die here, you will really die. Ling Xiao said indifferently, his expression extremely calm. However, his words were like a clap of thunder, causing an uproar among the crowd. What? Saint Child Lu Yun and Saint Child Wang Dao were actually killed by Long Outyen once? This is impossible, right? What's impossible? Can't you see that Saint Sun Lu Yun and Saint Sun Wang Dao have already tacitly agreed? Who is this Long Outyen? This is explosive news. This is too inconceivable. This Long Ao Tian seems to only be a first revolution half-saint. How did he do it? Everyone was shocked. They looked at Ling Xiao in disbelief as they discussed among themselves. Hand over the 10 Saint Steel, and I'll allow you to kneel and commit suicide. Wang Dao's eyes were incomparably cold as he looked down at Ling Xiao. It was as if letting Ling Xiao commit suicide was a gift. You want the 10 saints steel? Unfortunately, you don't have the qualifications. Why don't you kneel down and submit to me? I can spare your life. Ling Xiao said indifferently. His gaze was extremely calm. Senior Uncle Long, so the 10 saints steel is in your hands? Pa. When I return, I must borrow it to study. So the person who caused chaos in the Void Saint world is you. Gao Yang's eyes widened, and they were filled with incomparable surprise. Everyone was also shocked. They had heard of the commotion in the Void Saint world. Someone had actually taken away the 10 saints steel from the myriad saints steel forest. Many people had been searching for that fellow's whereabouts, but to no avail. They did not expect it to be this Long Outyin. Everyone became even more curious. Who exactly was this Long Outyin who had snatched the 10 saints steel in the Void Saint world and killed Wang Yan, Wang Dao, and Lu Yun, the 3 exceptional geniuses? Spare my life? Pa. Brat, you're about to die, yet you still dare to be so arrogant. Do you really think that I can't kill you with an Ai Shang around? Wang Dao laughed in extreme anger. He thought that Ling Xiao only dared to be so arrogant because an Ai Shang, Gao Yang, and Wu Xiong were here. Instantly, an extremely intense killing intent surged in his heart. Brother Wang, this brat is too arrogant. I'll block an Ai Shang and the other 2 for you. You capture this brat. You must obtain the 10 saints steel from him. Lu Yun's eyes suddenly flashed as he sent a message to Wang Dao. Alright. Wang Dao immediately agreed. Rumble. Lu Yun and Wang Dao's bodies exuded a powerful aura. The true disciples who came with them also looked indifferent as they surrounded Ling Xiao and the others. An Ai Shang's gaze turned cold as she stared at Lu Yun and Wang Dao. She said, Lu Yun, Wang Dao, do you want to fight in the Imperial Garden? If you want to die, I can fulfill your wish. An Ai Shang's voice was like the clanging of a sword, ethereal and mysterious. There seemed to be a mysterious power of time surrounding her. Senior sister An Ai Shang, I've long found these 2 bastards an eyesore. Why should I be afraid of them? Get them. Gao Yang sneered coldly like a hooligan. The aura around him was fixed on Wang Dao as he wanted to avenge his previous humiliation. An Ai Shang, you should know my feelings for you. Why would I hurt you? However, your junior brother doesn't know his place. Let Wang Dao teach him a lesson. Lu Yun smiled as mysterious runes flickered around him. It was as though he had unknowingly separated an Ai Shang and Ling Xiao, ready to take action at any time. The atmosphere in the Imperial Garden instantly became extremely tense. No one had expected the War God Hall, Heavenly Curse Sect, and 5 Elements Saint Sect to be in a standoff here. If the saints of the 3 sects were to fight, it would be a huge joke. Junior sister An Ai Shang, brother Lu, brother Wang, I've set up the Outstanding Talents banquet here today to let all the geniuses get to know each other. If the 3 of you were to fight here, it would spoil the fun. Just then, a hearty laugh was heard. The crowd in the distance parted, and a golden chariot slowly drove into the Imperial Garden. 9 golden dragons pulled the chariot, and over a dozen maids stood on both sides. Each of them looked valiant as they wore armor and held swords. Their charm and heroism intertwined, giving them a different kind of beauty. A fragrant wind blew, and flowers fell from the sky. Golden lotuses appeared in the void, and a majestic Saint Dao aura spread out. There was also the aura of a king, which was very mysterious. The golden chariot stopped in front of Ling Xiao and the rest. A young man in a golden robe walked out of it. He looked to be in his 20s. He had a heroic appearance and an extraordinary bearing. His skin emitted a sparkling light. His eyebrows were sharp and his eyes were bright. His long black hair was tied up casually. He held an ancient sword in his arms. He had a natural and unrestrained temperament. Chapter 1728. Greetings, Your Highness. Everyone's eyes were filled with awe as they cupped their hands and bowed to the young man. Crown Prince Ji Tian had arrived. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. Crown Prince Ji Tian looked gentle and casual, but he was extremely arrogant. He only looked at Anai Shang, Lu Yun and Wang Dao. He didn't even look at Gao Yang and Wu Xiong. But Ji Tian glanced at Ling Xiao, his gaze incomparably deep. We naturally don't want to ruin Brother Ji's prodigy banquet. It's a pity that someone here is a killjoy. His cultivation is like an ant, but he boasted shamelessly. How about I kill him to liven things up for Brother Ji's prodigy banquet? Wang Dao smiled faintly. You dare? Anai Shang raised her eyebrows, and there was a trace of coldness in her eyes. Brother Wang, do you have a grudge with Senior Long? Ji Tian's eyes revealed a trace of surprise, and he suddenly said slowly, Senior Long? What do you mean, Brother Ji? Lu Yun's smile froze when he heard how Ji Tian addressed him. Brother Lu and Brother Wang, you don't know yet, right? Senior Long Outyin is now the Battle Hall Master of Combat God Hall. He controls the Cyclic Sky Seal, and Lord Battle God personally admitted that he's Scarlet Dragon Battle God's disciple. Lord Battle God calls him Junior Martial Uncle, and even Senior Sister Anai Shang has to call him Senior Martial Uncle. Ji Tian smiled and nodded at Ling Xiao. Battle Hall Master? Controls the Cyclic Sky Seal? Lu Yun and Wang Dao trembled, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. What had happened at the War God Shrine had only happened a few days ago and had yet to be spread. Even Elder Huang Tai of the 9-layered Imperial Obelisk had been injured by Ling Xiao. Naturally, they wouldn't mention anything about Ling Xiao, so Lu Yun and Wang Dao didn't know either. However, they didn't dare to believe it when they heard it from Ji Tian, and their faces turned ugly. How is this possible? Wasn't Zhan Tianxing the most likely to get the Cyclic Sky Seal? How can it be him? Wang Dao said with an ugly expression. Brother Wang, you don't know. Although Zhan Tianxing claimed to have the bloodline of the War Tribe, Senior Long's talent was far superior to Zhan Tianxing's. That was why he had been able to take control of the Flipping Sky Seal from Zhan Tianxing. Senior Long has the Flipping Sky Seal. I'm afraid Brother Wang is no match for Senior Long. Ji Tian said with a smile. Ling Xiao, Anai Shang, and the rest couldn't help but frown and laugh coldly in their hearts. Ji Tian seemed to be speaking up for Ling Xiao, but every word he said was related to Ling Xiao becoming the Battle Hall Master and wielding the Flipping Sky Seal. After all, Ling Xiao's cultivation was still too low. As the saying goes, an innocent man gets into trouble because of his wealth. With Ling Xiao's cultivation, wielding the Flipping Sky Seal would naturally attract the attention of others. Therefore, the War God Temple did not publicize this matter. Even Anai Shang and the others did not address Ling Xiao as martial granduncle in front of outsiders. Ji Tian's action was simply sinister. Killing and destroying the heart. Ling Xiao suddenly thought of a word, and his gaze also became even colder. This Ji Tian was truly scheming. What kind of ability was it to rely on a saint treasure? Without the Flipping Sky Seal, killing him would be as easy as flipping my hand. Wang Dao snorted coldly and no longer mentioned killing Ling Xiao. He knew how terrifying the Flipping Sky Seal was. Even if Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the first revolution half-saint and could not fully activate the Flipping Sky Seal, he was not confident that he could withstand a blow from the Flipping Sky Seal. This was also because he did not know Ling Xiao's battle record on War Mountain. Otherwise, if he knew that even Huang Tai was injured by Ling Xiao using the Flipping Sky Seal, he would probably not even dare to speak. Wang Dao, how dare you talk about relying on a saint treasure? If you did not rely on a saint treasure to snatch my raging flame lotus, you would have been defeated by me. Extremely shameless. Gao Yang sneered, his eyes filled with disdain. Gao Yang, don't be angry with such a despicable person. In the end, he only relies on his cultivation being higher than mine. If we were at the same cultivation level, I would kill him like a dog. Ling Xiao said indifferently. His voice was very calm as if he was stating a fact. You bastard! Wang Dao was so angry that his entire body began to tremble. Even Lu Yun's gaze towards Ling Xiao was a little colder. As for Ji Tian, it was as if nothing had happened. Now that he had successfully caused the conflict between Ling Xiao, Lu Yun, and Wang Dao, he could not help but walk up with a smile. Everyone, please calm down. This is the prodigy's banquet. If we were to fight here, wouldn't we become a laughingstock? When the Musashi Mountain opens, there will naturally be a chance for everyone to learn from each other. Wang Dao naturally took advantage of the situation and said coldly, "Today, I will give Brother Ji some face. Otherwise, I will definitely not let him off." After Wang Dao finished speaking, he was afraid that Ling Xiao would say something else. He immediately left with Lu Yun with the disciples of the two sections. "Cowardly scoundrel!" Gao Yang spat lightly and said disdainfully. Previously, they were still flaunting their strength. In the end, once they heard that Ling Xiao had the flipping sky seal, they no longer mentioned fighting. The prodigies' banquet began very quickly. Various fine nectar and precious delicacies were naturally served up like flowing water, and they were enshrouded in light mist, causing them to seem misty and peaceful. Everyone toasted each other, and it seemed to be a scene of happiness and harmony. In the prodigies' banquet, Ling Xiao also saw Ji Qin and Yun Yang. However, they were following behind an elder in a blood-red robe and looked very respectful. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Last night in the War God Elixir Seal Pavilion, Ling Xiao felt that someone was spying on him. Although the aura was very obscure, Ling Xiao still sensed that it was this blood-red robed elder. The peak cultivation of a 9th revolution half-saint, his strength unfathomable. As soon as Shui Yuanzi appeared in the prodigies' banquet, he immediately attracted the attention of everyone. This was because Shui Yuanzi was not only a powerful 9th revolution half-saint, but also an alchemy saint who had once refined a perfect divine elixir. Ji Qin and Yun Yang also noticed Ling Xiao, and their eyes were filled with incomparable cold hatred. However, in the prodigies' banquet, they did not dare to be presumptuous, especially after knowing Ling Xiao and Ni Shang's identities. Naturally, they did not dare to cause trouble. After half a round of drinking, Ji Tian smiled at the crowd and said, "Welcome to today's prodigies' banquet. In order to liven things up for everyone, I have some leftover chaos stones in the Imperial Garden. Although they are not as precious as the real chaos stones, they may contain many treasures. Everyone can choose to gamble on the stones. If you can cut out the real treasure, it will be everyone's good fortune." Buzz. Chapter 1729. Stone Gambling. Upon hearing these two words, everyone's eyes immediately lit up. In the God realm, true stone gambling was spread among the saints. Legend had it that the chaos stones were collected by the saints from beyond the heavens. Chaos stones could contain treasures from the previous era. They could be powerful weapons, precious elixirs, or even powerful living beings. Chaos stones contained everything. There had always been rumors in the God realm that some people had cut out supreme elixirs from the chaos stones, and their cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. Some people had cut out supreme imperial scriptures and became an overlord, establishing a sacred ground orthodoxy. Some people had cut out supreme treasures and obtained great opportunities. Therefore, in the God realm, many experts were never tired of stone gambling. True chaos stones were too precious. Only saints could afford to play with them. Ordinary people did not have the right to. There were also some scraps of chaos stones that saints did not fancy. That was why everyone had the chance to see the chaos stones. When everyone heard that there were scraps of chaos stones in the Imperial Garden, it was as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Those chaos stones of different shapes and sizes were as alluring as naked girls in the eyes of the crowd. However, even the scraps of chaos stones were not free. One had to pay a price to obtain them. Everyone rushed into the stone forest, and exclamations rose and fell. "Look at this chaos stone. Doesn't it look like a divine dragon? The dragon scales are lifelike, and the dragon head is terrifying. I suspect that there must be a treasure in it. And this turtle rock. It is filled with auspicious air, and there is a fragrance coming from it. It should be a supreme elixir. The price of these chaos stones is too high." Everyone was discussing, but when they saw the price of the chaos stones, they were also speechless. Even the cheapest chaos stone, which was the size of a fist, was priced at a few hundred drops of sacred liquid. And those chaos stones that were filled with auspicious air were easily worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of drops of sacred liquid. It was not something that a handful of people could afford, and it made people flinch. Stone gambling was a gamble. One cut to heaven, one cut to hell. If a treasure was cut out, it would naturally be a joyous occasion. However, more often than not, there would be nothing after cutting out the chaos stones. In the end, they would lose everything. Brother G is really good, holding the prodigy's banquet and being able to deal with these chaos stones. Brother G is going to make a killing. Lu Yun and Wang Dao said to Ji Tian. However, their eyes were filled with curiosity. After all, they did not have many opportunities to come into contact with chaos stones. They were very infatuated and excited about the feeling of life and death. But no matter what, in the end, Ji Tian would definitely be the winner. Finally, someone could not hold it in any longer. They began to buy scraps of chaos stones and began stone gambling. It was a black-robed youth. He was a second revolution half-saint. He had clenched his teeth and spent 1,000 drops of holy liquid to purchase a watermelon-sized stone. It was exuding an auspicious aura. There was a tiny stone heart inside it. It was beating like a heart. It looked extremely extraordinary. The black-robed young man seemed to be trying his luck. The other chaos stones that were filled with auspicious air and had strange phenomena were easily worth tens of thousands of drops of sacred liquid. Only this watermelon stone only needed 1,000 drops of sacred liquid. He bought it with the intention of taking advantage of it. In the Imperial Garden, there was a professional stone cutter. Stone gambling was very particular. If there was really a treasure in the chaos stone and it was damaged in the process of cutting the stone, it would probably be so depressing that it would vomit blood. The black-robed young man handed the watermelon stone to the stone cutter with a face full of anticipation. Everyone stared intently at the watermelon stone. As the stone cutter took out a strange weapon, like a spinning top, he skillfully peeled off the outer layer of the watermelon stone. Everyone couldn't help but hold their breaths. Half of the watermelon stone was peeled off, but the inside was still chaotic and gray. The black-robed young man was a little anxious. "It's brilliant! It's brilliant!" Suddenly, someone exclaimed. There was a trace of excitement in his eyes. A trace of green light appeared where the watermelon stone was peeled off. Although it looked very faint, it was indeed a green light. Moreover, it was getting denser and denser. In the end, it actually emitted a strange fragrance. It must be a sacred medicine from ancient times. That fragrance was intoxicating. Someone secretly guessed. The black-robed young man was also excited. His body was trembling. After all, 1,000 drops of sacred liquid was not a small amount to him. If he really could not cut out anything, then he would really suffer a loss. Fortunately, this watermelon stone did not disappoint him. Buzz. In the end, all the surface was peeled off. A green flower appeared in the stone cutter's hand. It looked sparkling and translucent. The petals flowed with multicolored light. It was like a green sun, mysterious and unfathomable. The black-robed young man hurriedly took out a jade box that he had prepared beforehand. He put the green flower inside to prevent the medicinal effects from leaking out. What kind of flower is this? Everyone's eyes revealed a trace of doubt because they didn't know him at all. Finally, Ji Tian looked at Shui Yuanzi and said, "Shui Yuanzi, do you know where this flower came from?" Blood Origin slowly said, "If I'm not mistaken, this should be an azure god flower. It's a divine medicine from ancient times that can enhance the power of the primordial spirit. It can even be refined into sacred medicines to enhance the power of the primordial spirit. It's almost lost now. Little brother, if you are willing to sell it, I'm willing to pay 100,000 drops of sacred liquid for it." 100,000 drops of sacred liquid? Everyone exclaimed, their eyes filled with disbelief. The black-robed young man spent 1,000 drops of sacred liquid to buy the watermelon stone. After cutting out the flower, the price increased by 100 times in the blink of an eye. Everyone's eyes became extremely hot. The black-robed young man was scared silly. Perhaps even he didn't think that the flower would be so precious that Blood Origin Pill Saint would be willing to pay 100,000 drops of sacred liquid. I'm willing to sell it. Thank you, Blood Origin Pill Saint. The black-robed young man said without hesitation and respectfully handed the jade box to Blood Origin Pill Saint. Blood Origin Pill Saint had great prestige among the crowd, so naturally, no one doubted his words. Everyone was just envious of the black-robed young man's good luck. Suddenly, many geniuses who were watching from the sidelines couldn't help but rush into the stone forest to pick out the chaos stones. Senior Uncle Long, let's go pick out a few chaos stones too. If we can cut out the treasures, we'll be rich. Gao Yang was also eager to give it a try. His eyes were shining. P.S. Today, Mu Yu's parents-in-law are here, and so are my parents. They want to discuss the marriage between Mu Yu and Little Peony. Mu Yu needs to treat them well for the next few days. Whether or not he can take Little Peony home will depend on his performance. Therefore, for the sake of Mu Yu's marriage, Mu Yu can only shamelessly abandon all of you. There won't be many updates in the next few days, but they won't stop. Everyone, please bear with me. After my parents-in-law leave, Mu Yu will apologize to all of you. Chapter 1730. Even though Ni Shang and Wu Xiong didn't say anything, their eyes were filled with curiosity. Stone gambling was an irresistible temptation to everyone. Especially when they saw the green god flower in the watermelon stone chosen by the black-robed youth, everyone saw endless possibilities. After all, since ancient times, there was a saying in the realm of gods that even a divine being cannot break an inch of jade. Even though there might be a special secret technique to see some clues, no one would know what was in the chaos stone until the moment it was cut out. Stone gambling was a game of the heart. Don't panic. That black-robed youth is a trap set by them. There might be treasures in the leftovers of these chaos stones, but most of them should be some useless stones. If you go stone gambling, I'm afraid you're just giving the holy liquid to Ji Tian for nothing. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed, and he transmitted his voice to Ni Shang and the rest. Set a trap? This is impossible, right? Although the Blood Yuan Alchemy Saint is impressive, he can't possibly know if there are treasures in the chaos stones, let alone know if there are green god flowers in the chaos stones, right? Gao Yang transmitted his voice in disbelief. Do you really think those are chaos stones? Ling Xiao sneered. Those aren't chaos stones at all, but nature stones. They can change into thousands of forms and have been disguised by someone. After absorbing the chaos chi, they look no different from chaos stones. The green god flower in them was probably placed in by someone in advance. If you go stone gambling now, there's a high chance you'll lose everything. What? Nature stone? This Ji Tian deserves to die. He actually deceived so many people. Gao Yang was enraged. He had heard of the nature stone before. It was a kind of treasure that could change into thousands of forms and disguise itself as all kinds of treasures. It was mysterious and unpredictable. Although the nature stone was considered precious, it was worth it to use it as a scam. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed, and he transmitted his voice to Gao Yang. Later on, go and take away the leftovers from the watermelon stones. Be careful not to attract the attention of Ji Tian and the Blood Yuan Alchemy Saint. Gao Yang understood and nodded. Don't worry. I, the Holy Sun Gao Yang, am known as the empty-handed thief. I'll teach that bastard Ji Tian a lesson. Martial Uncle Long, could it be that you think these leftovers of the chaos stones are all useless stones? There are no treasures at all? Ni Shang asked curiously. After all, it was difficult for a divine being to break jade. Even if it was just a scrap of the chaos gem, no one dared to say that there was no treasure within. However, Ling Zhao's assertion made Ni Shang very curious and surprised. Not a single treasure? That's impossible. However, the scraps of these chaos gems had already been picked by others. Most of them were useless rocks. Senior Sister Nikhang ought to be able to know that there's a type of person in this world that's capable of seeing through all illusions and everything. It's even to the extent that they're said to be able to see through the long river of fate and see through the past and future. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. You mean, Heavenly Master? Ni Shang's gaze turned solemn. The Heavenly Master was a person who could make the heavenly realm, and even the myriad of worlds tremble and pay attention to. Every heavenly master had different abilities. Some had clairvoyance and could see through all fabrications. Some could see through all worlds. Some could see through life and death. Some could see through the past and the future. Heavenly masters were a group of lucky people favored by heaven and earth. Their talents came from the heavens and the power of the heavenly Tao. Their status even far surpassed ordinary sages, surpassing the so-called alchemy sages and talisman sages. It was the most honorable profession in history. For example, alchemy and weapon refinement could be learned through cultivation. However, being a heavenly master was a gift from the heavens. Although a heavenly master's talent could be improved along with their cultivation, this talent could not be inherited or learned. It was rumored that in ancient times, heavenly masters could even guide others to attain the Tao and become emperors. It was an unprecedented honor to be the teacher of a great emperor. Perhaps not. After all, heavenly masters are too rare. However, the origin of these chaos gems is rather interesting. Ling Xiao said nonchalantly. Ling Xiao was naturally not a heavenly master. However, what others did not know was that Ling Xiao, who possessed the wordless heavenly book, had the talent of a heavenly master. Back in the war god world, Ling Xiao had participated in stone gambling. However, those were ancient stones that had been born and buried under the ground. They were not true chaos gems. Ling Xiao possessed the wordless heavenly book. His senses seemed to have been magnified 1,000 times, 10,000 times. He could clearly sense the changes in the chaos gems and determine whether there were treasures within. Thus, Ling Xiao could discover the flaw in the watermelon stone. He could also discover that among the scraps of the chaos gems, apart from a very small portion, the rest were mostly useless stones. In the stone forest, everyone began to pick out the chaos gems in full swing. Their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. However, most of them were quickly doused with a bucket of cold water. This was because they had expended a large amount of sacred liquid. In the end, they found nothing in the chaos gems they cut open. They had lost everything. Of course, there were also a few people who found treasures after cutting open the chaos gems. In the end, those chaos gems were the most precious pieces in the stone forest. They were extremely valuable to begin with. The treasures they found were far less valuable than the sacred liquid they had paid. It looks like we don't have the luck of stone gambling. There are so many scraps of chaos gems, but why are there so few treasures? Someone sighed softly. His eyes were filled with disappointment. It's brilliant, it's brilliant. This is a 5-colored glow. What kind of treasure is that? Suddenly, someone cried out in surprise. His voice was filled with incomparable excitement. In the stone forest in the distance, a chaos gem that Yun Yang had chosen was cut open by a stone cutter. A 5-colored glow permeated the air and exuded a majestic, auspicious aura. It was mysterious and unfathomable. Everyone's gaze was attracted. Their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. The disappointment and suspicion they had felt earlier were swept away in an instant. That's Blood Origin Elixir Saint's disciple, young Master Yun Yang? No wonder he was able to find treasures. So it's young Master Yun Yang. That's right. I heard that there is a heavenly master on Pill Seal Mountain who can see through illusions and see the truth. The Blood Origin Elixir Saint was once guided by him. It is said that the chaos gems that the Blood Origin Elixir Saint selects usually contain treasures. This young Master Yun Yang is also extraordinary. That's right. Receiving guidance from a heavenly master is a glory that even a saint might not be able to enjoy. I wonder what treasures young Master Yun Yang will find. Everyone was discussing animatedly. They were filled with anticipation. Everyone, I was guided by my master. After careful selection, I finally found the treasures contained within this chaos gem. This is all thanks to my master's guidance. Young Master Yun Yang smiled faintly. Although he looked very humble, he still couldn't hide his pride and complacency. Young Master Yun Yang has a unique insight. The Blood Origin Elixir Saint has unfathomable abilities. Chapter 1731. Boom. As the chaos stone that young Master Yunyang had chosen was completely cut open, it immediately emitted thousands of rays of light. Strands of five-colored divine light filled the air, and it contained a mysterious fragrance that made one feel energized. It was as if the saint energy in one's body had skyrocketed. What kind of treasure is this? Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at the treasure in the chaos stone. It was a fist-sized saint fruit that was flowing with five-colored light. It looked crystal clear and had mysterious runes on its surface. It was as mysterious as runes and was incomparably exquisite. As soon as it appeared, the endless spiritual energy between the heavens and earth rushed toward the saint fruit. Everyone looked at each other in dismay because they couldn't recognize the origin of this holy fruit. Blood origin elixir saint, what kind of treasure is this? Someone couldn't help but ask. Perhaps only the blood origin elixir saint could recognize the origin of this saint fruit. This is the 5 elements Tao fruit. The blood origin elixir saint's eyes revealed a trace of shock as he slowly said. The fruit of 5 elements was a kind of origin sacred medicine. It contained the origin power of 5 elements. It was extremely useful for a semi-sage who cultivated the great Tao of 5 elements. Moreover, it could be refined into a Tao of 5 elements. It was of great help even to a saint. 5 elements Tao fruit? Isn't this a treasure that's almost lost? I heard that the 5 elements saint sect used to have the 5 elements Tao fruit, but I don't know if they still have it now. Everyone exclaimed, their eyes full of disbelief. The value of this 5 elements Tao fruit was immeasurable. Young Master Yunyang, how much is this 5 elements Tao fruit? Please sell it to me. Wang Dao, who couldn't help but look at young Master Yunyang with an extremely excited expression on his face, spoke eagerly. He was the saint of the 5 elements saint sect and cultivated the 5 elements Tao. Although he mainly cultivated the flame Tao, he had a deep understanding of the other 4 Taos. If he could get this 5 elements Tao fruit, Wang Dao even hoped to break through to the 9th revolution half-saint realm in a short time. At that time, he would be the first saint of the 5 elements saint sect. This 5 elements Tao fruit had an extremely important effect to the King Tao. Senior brother Wang Dao wants the 5 elements Tao fruit, so I'm naturally willing to fulfill your wish. The 5 elements Tao fruit will be priced at 500,000 saint liquids. How about it? Yunyang said with a smile. 500,000 saint liquids, this price is too low. I appreciate young Master Yunyang's kindness. Wang Dao said gratefully. The price of the 5 elements Tao fruit was indeed a lot, and could be considered a high price. However, the 5 elements Tao fruit was now on the verge of extinction, and its usefulness to Wang Dao was immeasurable. Therefore, the price of 5 elements Tao fruit was indeed not high. Senior brother Wang Dao, if you consume the 5 element fruit directly, then it would be a waste of the medicinal effects within it. Why don't you ask my master to refine a 5 element Tao pill for you? I presume it will surely be able to assist you in overcoming the 9th rebirth tribulation in one go. Young Master Yunyang smiled. 5 elements Tao core? If the blood essence pill sage is willing to help, I will be very grateful. This junior is willing to pay 1 million saint liquid. Wang Dao was overjoyed and immediately gritted his teeth. 1 million drops of holy liquid was a huge number for Wang Dao. He only had a few 100,000 drops of holy liquid on him. For him to offer 1 million drops of holy liquid showed his sincerity. You don't have to be so polite, Wang Dao. I have some friendship with your master, so I'll open the furnace and refine the pill for you later. Shui Yuan pill saint said with a smile. Wang Dao was naturally very grateful. At the same time, his heart was filled with lofty sentiments. As long as the 5 element Tao pill was refined, he would definitely be able to break through to the 9th revolution half-saint realm after consuming it and accumulating enough holy power. The chaos stone that young Master Yunyang had chosen was worth 100,000 drops of holy liquid, and the 5 element Tao fruit was worth 500,000 drops of holy liquid. This also pushed the blood essence pill saint and Yunyang's reputation to the peak. The crowd, who had originally been a little disappointed, suddenly felt as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They began to participate in the stone gambling again. Yunyang suddenly glanced at Ling Xiao and the others and sneered. Long Outyin, why aren't you participating in something as exciting as stone gambling? Could it be that you don't have enough holy liquid to buy the Chaos Stone? It seems like the War God Temple is declining more and more. Hearing Yunyang's mockery, the crowd roared with laughter. Young Master Yunyang, Long Outyin is not a country bumpkin. He has the 10 Saint Steel. If he is willing to take it out, I believe that Brother Ji will be willing to exchange the Chaos Stone with him. I'm afraid that he doesn't have confidence in himself and will lose everything. Wang Dao also sneered. Ji Tian smiled slightly and glanced at Ling Xiao. Senior Long, if you are willing to take out the 10 Saint Steel, I can let you choose any 10 Chaos Stones in this stone forest. Choose any 10? The Crown Prince is really generous. The most expensive Chaos Stones are worth more than a few million drops of holy liquid. I'm afraid that Senior Long wouldn't dare. Lu Yun said with a smile. They echoed each other, their words laced with sarcasm and ridicule, as well as flattery. Instantly, Wu Xiong and Gao Yang's expressions turned cold, and their eyes were filled with incomparable anger. Even though they knew that this was a provocation, they were still infuriated. Ling Zhao's face was still calm as he said indifferently, "Are these Chaos Stones worthy of exchanging for my 10 Saint Steel? It's just some Chaos Stone waste. It's not worth mentioning. What's there to brag about? Chaos Stone waste? Long Outyin, you'd better watch your words." Ji Chen's face turned cold as he stared at Ling Xiao. The smile on Ji Tian's face faded. Ling Zhao's words were clearly directed at him. If these were all Chaos Stone waste, wouldn't it mean that he was cheating all the geniuses? Even though Ji Tian was a scheming person, he was still slightly angry. Palace Master Long, aren't you a little too reckless? Even a saint cannot judge an inch of jade. Other than the Heavenly Master, who can determine the authenticity of the Chaos Stones. Although I am not talented, I can still see that there are treasures hidden in these Chaos Stones. Why don't we make a bet? The Blood Origin Elixir Saint suddenly smiled and looked at Ling Xiao. Bet on stones? Hearing that the Blood Origin Elixir Saint wanted to bet on stones with Long Outyin, everyone became excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. How do you want to bet? Ling Xiao sneered in his heart, but his expression did not change as he asked. Very simple. You and I each pick a Chaos Stone. Whoever has the highest value will win. How about that? We'll make a small bet. The loser will agree to one condition within his ability. The Blood Origin Elixir Saint smiled faintly. Sounds very fair. However, Blood Origin Elixir Saint, you have been taught by the Heavenly Master, but I'm just a junior. Aren't you afraid of being suspected of bullying the weak? Ling Xiao said calmly. His eyes were incomparably deep, and no one could tell what he was thinking. Chapter 1732. Palace Master Long, you are the disciple of the Scarlet Dragon War God. Even the War God has to address you as Martial Uncle. How can you be a junior? Palace Master Long, you don't have to be humble. You must be extraordinary to be able to become the disciple of the Scarlet Dragon War God. I believe that a mere chaotic stone will not be a problem for you. The Blood Essence Elixir Saint smiled. Ling Xiao sneered in his heart. The Blood Essence Elixir Saint was trying to flatter him and provoke him into gambling. However, even if it was stone gambling, Ling Xiao was not necessarily afraid of the Blood Yuan Alchemy Saint. With the wordless heavenly book in hand, Ling Xiao was almost equivalent to a celestial master. If the Blood Yuan Alchemy Saint wanted to bully him because of his young age, he was afraid that he had made a mistake. In that case, let's gamble then. Ling Xiao said indifferently with a calm expression. Martial Uncle Long, don't be rash. The Blood Essence Elixir Saint is not simple. Although he is not a heavenly master, he has received guidance from a heavenly master. If you gamble with him, you will most likely lose. Gao Yang said anxiously to Long Outyin through telepathy. If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid this old man is up to no good. He wants the item left behind by the Divine Illumination Crown Prince. However, don't worry. The Blood Essence Elixir Saint is not a heavenly master. I'm afraid he has made the wrong decision this time. Ling Xiao sneered. The blood essence elixir saint would not come to him for a stone gamble for no reason. His only motive was probably the item left behind by the divine illumination crown prince. Ji Feishuan naturally trusted Ling Xiao. Even if the blood essence elixir saint were to challenge him, she believed that Ling Xiao would win. This was the trust formed by countless tacit agreements. Enai Shang, Wu Xiong, and Gao Yang were still skeptical. However, they did not say anything when they saw that Ling Xiao had already made up his mind. The blood essence elixir saint wants to gamble with Long Outyen? Long Outyen is overestimating himself. He will lose for sure. Isn't that right? The blood essence elixir saint has received guidance from a heavenly master. He has unfathomable means. Although Long Outyen's martial arts talent is extraordinary, he has no experience in stone gambling. He is still too young and impetuous. Even young Master Yunyang, the disciple of the blood origin elixir saint, managed to cut out the 5 elements Dao fruit. I wonder what kind of treasure the blood origin elixir saint will cut out. I'm really looking forward to it. The news that Ling Xiao and Shui Yuan Dan saint were going to bet on stones had shocked everyone. Then, they began to mock and ridicule Ling Xiao. They had no confidence in Ling Xiao. They believed that Ling Xiao would lose without a doubt. The blood origin elixir saint was an expert of the Pill Talisman Mountain. His status was revered. He was even on the same level as an ordinary saint. Although he was still a 9th revolution half-saint, he was not far from becoming a saint. He had a very high prestige in the hearts of everyone. He was an honored guest of the great Zhou Divine Kingdom's king and had great power. You're courting death. Young Master Yunyang sneered, his eyes full of disdain. Young Master Yunyang, why lower yourself to the level of an arrogant person? If he hadn't gotten the flipping sky seal by chance, I would have killed him long ago. Wang Dao said coldly. Everyone was not optimistic about Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao's expression was incomparably calm and indifferent. It was as if he was not affected at all. The blood origin elixir saint had already entered the stone forest to choose a chaos stone. Although he was wearing a blood-red robe, he looked like a celestial being. His temperament was extraordinary. His steps were like moving clouds and flowing water. Soon he had chosen a chaos stone. It was a fist-sized chaos stone. It looked dense and auspicious. It was perfectly round and looked like an eyeball. It exuded an incomparably mysterious aura. Such a chaos stone was actually worth 300,000 drops of sacred liquid. It was also one of the most expensive chaos stones in the entire stone forest. Palace Master Long, I have already chosen. Are you still not going to make a move? The blood origin elixir saint looked at Ling Xiao and smiled slightly. Ling Xiao looked at the chaos stone that the blood origin elixir saint had chosen. His eyes revealed a trace of surprise. He could feel the wordless heavenly book trembling. Obviously, there must be a treasure in this chaos stone. Moreover, it must be a very precious treasure. The blood origin elixir saint had some tricks up his sleeve. However, Ling Xiao could feel that the chaos stone was still there. That was enough. I have already chosen, Ling Xiao said indifferently. Then he walked directly into the stone forest and stopped in front of the largest chaos stone. The chaos stone in front of them was more than 10 feet tall. It looked very strange. The surface of the stone was mottled. There were holes in the stone. When the wind passed through the holes, it emitted a ghostly wail and waves of yin qi filled the air. This is it. Ling Xiao pointed at the chaos stone in front of him and said. Everyone was stunned. Ling Xiao had chosen the chaos stone too casually. It was as if he had randomly chosen the largest chaos stone. However, although this chaos stone was very large, its price was one of the lowest in the stone forest. 500 drops of sacred liquid. The blood origin elixir saint had chosen a chaos stone that was worth 300,000 drops of sacred liquid. Could it be that Ling Xiao had given up? Long Outyen, do you think that a large chaos stone can be used to cut out a treasure? Are you not afraid of embarrassing the war god temple? Wang Dao mocked. Long Outyen, if you lack sacred liquid, I can lend it to you. A chaos stone with 500 drops of sacred liquid is no different from a useless stone. It looks like you have really given up. Lu Yun also shook his head and sneered. Whether a chaos stone can be used to cut out a treasure is not dependent on the size of the chaos stone, nor is it dependent on the price of the chaos stone. Moreover, the price is only marked by others. It is very likely that it will be left behind. I will bet that this chaos stone can be used to cut out a treasure. There is no need for the two of you to be noisy here. Ling Xiao said indifferently. This stone was also the one that Ling Xiao's wordless heavenly book felt the most strongly. If Ling Xiao had not suppressed the wordless heavenly book, it might have rushed out directly. If a Yin Wind stone can be used to cut out a treasure, then I will eat this chaos stone directly. The ignorant are really fearless. You actually chose a Yin Wind stone? You are courting death. Yun Yang laughed coldly. His eyes were full of disdain. Yin Wind stone, what is this? Ling Xiao asked with a puzzled look. He really did not know about the Yin Wind stone because he knew nothing about chaos stones. He was completely relying on the wordless heavenly book to gamble on stones. You don't even know about the Yin Wind stone and you dare to gamble on stones? Young Master Yun Yang was stunned. Then, the mocking look on his face became even more intense. It is actually the Yin Wind stone? The Yin Wind stone that is said to be a useless stone among chaos stones. It is impossible to cut out a treasure from it? This Long Outyin is too unlucky, isn't he? Someone exclaimed as they recalled the origin of the Yin Wind stone. Chapter 1733. Blood Origin Pill Sage smiled and said, Palace Master Long, you have indeed chosen the Yin Wind stone. Yin Wind stone is a waste stone among the chaos stones. Most of them have many holes in them. The Yin Wind stone has no value. Therefore, it is impossible to cut out a treasure. Why don't you choose another one? The Blood Essence Pill Saint had personally allowed Ling Xiao to choose another chaos stone. Suddenly, everyone's face was full of admiration. Gambling on stones was just like gambling. As the saying goes, once you've made a bet, you can't go back on it. Blood Yuan Dan Saint had allowed Ling Xiao to choose another stone. His generosity was admirable. However, the Blood Yuan Pill Saint allowed Ling Xiao to choose again because he believed that with Ling Xiao's level, it would be impossible for him to find a better chaos stone even if he chose another one. Therefore, he was not worried at all. The crowd did not know this. There's no need. I'll choose this Yin Wind stone. As for whether there will be treasures in it, it's not up to me or you to decide. We'll see the results after we cut it out. Ling Xiao said calmly. Everyone was stunned and looked at Ling Xiao as if they were looking at an idiot. The Blood Essence Pill Saint had already said that this was the Yin Wind stone. The Blood Essence Pill Saint had also promised that Ling Xiao could choose another one. In the end, this guy was so stubborn that he had to choose this Yin Wind stone. Was he courting death? You're courting death. Arrogant. Young Master Yun Yang and Wang Dao both sneered. My martial granduncle Long, even if I beg you, can't you change it to another chaos stone? Why do you have to go against the Yin Wind stone? Gao Yang was about to go crazy as he transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao. They had all heard of the Yin Wind stone before and did not believe that there would be any treasures in it. However, Ling Xiao was still stubborn and did not want to choose another chaos stone. Gao Yang had developed a lot of resentment towards Ling Xiao. Trust me. Ling Xiao only said 3 words and ignored him. Alright. Since Palace Master Long is so confident, this old man really wants to see what treasures can be cut out of this Yin Wind stone. Why don't we cut out your Yin Wind stone first? The Blood Essence Pill Saint's eyes flashed as he said slowly. Let's cut out your chaos stone first. I'm afraid that when I cut out a treasure from my Yin Wind stone, you won't have any chance. Ling Xiao said calmly. When everyone heard this, the corners of their mouths twitched. They were completely defeated by Ling Xiao. They were all screaming in their hearts, wanting to ask Ling Xiao, where did you get your confidence from? Being able to cut out a treasure from the Yin Wind stone was no different from the sun rising from the west. How arrogant! Ignorant! Arrogant! In an instant, Ling Xiao was labeled by the crowd with countless labels. The blood origin pill sage was speechless. Alright, let's cut the chaos stone I chose first. Everyone, please bear witness. Even Blood Yuan Pill Saint did not know where Ling Xiao's confidence came from. If he had not been sure that Ling Xiao had chosen a Yin Wind stone, he would have doubted his judgment. Under the stone-cutting man's actions, the Blood Origin Pill Saint's primordial chaos stone began to peel off its stone skin. Soon, it emitted a bright light. It's amazing. It's really amazing. I've only peeled off a layer of stone, and there's already such a terrifying phenomenon. It looks like a unique treasure has been born from within the chaos stone. Someone said excitedly, his body trembling uncontrollably. Under the stone's skin, a bright light bloomed. It was filled with a vast and mysterious sage aura, causing the surrounding void to tremble slightly. Blood Yuan Pill Saint's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Although he was sure that a treasure could be cut out from the chaos stone, he was not sure what kind of treasure it would be. Now that he saw such a phenomenon, his heart calmed down. It looked like a unique treasure had indeed been born from this chaos stone. Rumble. Powerful sage aura spread out, and blazing runes rose. The phenomenon became more and more shocking, and the anticipation in everyone's eyes became more and more intense. When the stone-cutting man finally cut open the chaos stone, a divine light shot up into the sky, blooming with a dazzling light. A silver eye hovered in the void. It looked mysterious and ancient, and it shot out a series of profound runes, causing the surrounding sky to tremble slightly. "This is a flawless sage treasure?" someone exclaimed, and his breathing instantly became a little hurried. A flawless sage treasure was a supreme treasure that only sages were qualified to control. Even many sage-to-be experts were not qualified to own a flawless sage treasure. This silver eye made people's scalp tingle. It looked very ancient and mysterious, as if it contained a power that could pierce through people's hearts. "This is the soul-destroying godly eye?" Blood Yuan Pill Saint seemed to have thought of something. His eyes lit up, and he suddenly became excited. Soul-destroying godly eye? Could it be a treasure made by the soul-destroying sage in ancient times? It's said to be an extremely vicious one-time treasure that can destroy a person's divine soul. Although it's not a flawless sage treasure, its value is not below that of a flawless sage treasure. Ji Tian, who was originally calm and indifferent, could not help but light up at this moment. His voice was filled with excitement. Yes, it's the soul-destroying godly eye. However, it's a pity that this soul-destroying godly eye is only silver. It can kill experts below the sage realm, even if it's a 9th revolution half-saint's divine soul. If it's a golden soul-destroying godly eye, it can even kill a real sage. Blood Yuan Pill Saint said slowly, with a trace of regret in his eyes. He was a 9th revolution half-saint. If it was a golden soul-destroying godly eye, it would naturally be of great use to him. However, the silver soul-destroying godly eye was of little use to him. It's a pity. However, this soul-destroying godly eye alone is worth at least 1,000,000 drops of saint liquid. Ji Tian nodded and said. Ji Tian, Lu Yun and Wang Dao quickly regained their composure. The silver soul-extinguishing godly pupil wasn't of great value to them. However, the eyes of the others lit up. This was especially true for some low-level half-saints. This soul-extinguishing godly pupil was simply the most precious treasure and trump card for self-defense. Even a 9th revolution half-saint wouldn't dare to act rashly with it. Soul-destroying godly eye? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He felt that the soul-destroying godly eye was floating in the void, but the wordless heavenly book was trembling slightly. It seemed that this soul-destroying godly eye was very important to the wordless heavenly book. However, what was the use of a mere silver soul-destroying godly eye to the wordless heavenly book? Could it be that this soul-destroying godly eye had other secrets? Ling Xiao could not help but be moved in his heart. Palace Master Long, it's your turn to cut the stone now. Blood Yuan Pill Saint said slowly. Although he was a little disappointed, he was not worried at all. This was because even if he only cut out the silver soul-destroying godly eye, it could be said that he had already won. After all, it was impossible to cut out a treasure from the Yin Wind stone. Don't worry, the chaos stone I choose will not disappoint you, Blood Yuan Pill Saint. Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. There was no trace of worry in his eyes. Pretentious. Chapter 1734. The stone cutter walked up and was about to cut the stone but was stopped by Ling Xiao. Let me do it, Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Then he walked to the front of the huge stone. His whole body was filled with qi and blood. Then he threw out a punch. The terrifying fist imprinted on the stone, and immediately, the stone broke into pieces. This guy actually cut the stone like that? Everyone's eyes widened, their faces filled with disbelief. Who wouldn't be careful when cutting a stone? They were afraid of damaging the treasure inside. After all, no one knew what was inside the chaos stone. However, Ling Xiao was so violent. He actually shattered the Yin Wind stone with a single punch. Everyone burst into laughter when they saw the shattered stones on the ground. Ha! This is too funny. There's really nothing inside the Yin Wind stone. Is Long Outyen an idiot? I was shocked by his actions. Now, it seems like he's just playing to the gallery. Sigh, how disappointing. The War God Temple actually lets such a person become the War God Temple Master. It seems like the War God Temple has really declined. Everyone was not stingy with their mocking and ridiculing. Their eyes were filled with disdain. The Blood Origin Pill Saint smiled faintly and said, Hall Master Long, it seems like I can only say that you went easy on me. However, Hall Master Long was stubborn and chose a Yin Wind stone. Although it was just a stone bet between you and me, I'm afraid it's a huge loss of face for the War God Temple. You went easy on me? Do you really think you've won? Ling Xiao looked at the Blood Origin Pill Saint with a faint smile. Long Outyen, could it be that you can't afford to lose? You chose the Yin Wind stone yourself. Now that the Yin Wind stone has been shattered by you, there's nothing inside. You clearly lost. What other tricks are you trying to play? Young Master Yunyang sneered. Senior Long, your every action represents the War God Temple. Don't let the War God Temple become a laughing stock. Ji Tian smiled faintly. Everyone was waiting to see Ling Xiao make a fool of himself. Now, the War God Temple had become a laughing stock. Even Ni Shang, Wu Xiong, and Gao Yang were a little anxious. They couldn't tell what Long Outyen was trying to do, but they could tell that the War God Temple was going to become a joke. Ling Xiao's expression remained calm, as though he did not take the mockery and ridicule of the crowd to heart. He scanned the crowd and said, Who said I lost? You blind things, do you even know what stone gambling is? Today, let me show you what real stone gambling is. Ling Xiao instantly became incomparably arrogant. Everyone could not help but be stunned. Rumble. Ling Xiao walked in front of the Yin Wind stones and threw another punch. The Yin Wind stones turned into dust, but a black stone appeared in front of everyone. The black stone seemed to have strange patterns on its surface. The runes were mysterious and unfathomable. It was as if demonic energy was overflowing from it. It was also enshrouded in a faint chaotic energy. It was incomparably strange. This is a stone within a chaos stone? The stone-cutting man exclaimed. His whole body was trembling, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Stone of chaos stones? What's that? Everyone's eyes were filled with confusion. However, they instinctively felt that something was wrong. This stone seemed to be extraordinary. Wasn't that a Yin Wind stone? Why was there a chaos stone in it? Stone within a chaos stone? I've heard that this seems to be man-made. Legend has it that there were extremely precious chaos stones in ancient times. In order to prevent them from being cut open, someone used the Yin Wind stone as a disguise. Could it be that there's some earth-shattering supreme treasure in this chaos stone? An old man said slowly. There was a hint of excitement in his eyes. This is the real chaos stone. Cut it open. Ling Xiao said indifferently and threw the black stone to the stone-cutting man. Yes. Don't worry, Palace Master Long. I promise that I won't damage the treasure in it. The stone-cutting man looked as if he had obtained a precious treasure and immediately said to Ling Xiao solemnly, To be able to cut out a chaos stone within a chaos stone was a supreme honor for the stone-cutting man. Therefore, this stone-cutting man cut the stone with a feeling of pilgrimage. He was extremely solemn and serious, not daring to relax at all. Yun Yang, Ji Qin, Wang Dao, and the Blood Origin Alchemy Saints' faces turned extremely ugly in an instant. Stone within a chaos stone? How is this possible? The Blood Origin Alchemy Saint muttered to himself. The Yin Wind Stone was the most common among chaos stones. Although it was rumored that ancient experts used the Yin Wind Stone to disguise the precious chaos stone, that was only a legend. No one had ever seen it before. Who would have thought that it would appear in front of them now? Everyone's expression became embarrassed. They were just mocking Ling Xiao, but in the end, they were all extinguished. Each of them felt their faces burning. This time, their faces were about to be slapped swollen by Ling Xiao. So what if it's a chaos stone within a chaos stone? The treasure inside might not be more precious than Master's soul destroyer godly eye. Yun Yang said with a cold laugh. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he immediately regretted it. Everyone looked at Yun Yang as if they were looking at an idiot. That was the stone of the chaos stones. For someone to use the Yin Wind Stone as a counterfeit, and for it to be so perfect without any flaws, there must be an earth-shattering treasure hidden within. How could it be inferior to the Soul Destroyer Divine Eye? At this moment, everyone was silent. No one dared to say another word, afraid that they would be slapped in the face by Ling Xiao again. Buzz. As the stone cutter slowly peeled off the surface of the stone, a resplendent light blossomed from the black stone. It was as dazzling as the rising sun. Nectar seeped out from it, giving off an extremely strange fragrance. It made people feel intoxicated just by smelling it. What kind of treasure is that? Someone exclaimed, his voice trembling. The chaos stone split into two halves, and there seemed to be a misty world spreading out from it. There were tens of thousands of rays of light, and thousands of auspicious colors. The mysterious runes caused the void to tremble. Sparkling liquid flowed out, and a mysterious figure appeared in it. It was a small white beast that looked to be only the size of a palm. Its fur was pure white and flawless, exuding a sparkling luster. It had a pair of pure big eyes that were filled with curiosity. When it blinked, it was as if the sun and moon were born and destroyed appeared. It was incomparably mysterious. The small beast instantly turned into a stream of light and floated out from the chaos stone. Its body instantly bloomed with a blazing divine light. It suddenly opened its mouth, and a vast devouring vortex spread out in an instant. Boom! The heaven and earth in all directions began to tremble. A vast amount of heaven and earth energy gushed out and surged into the small white beast's mouth. A vast divine light bloomed, making it look even more mysterious. What kind of creature is that? How could it be born from the chaos stone? Everyone was extremely puzzled, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. Chapter 1735. The white little beast floated in the void. Its body was surrounded by resplendent rays of light. Its fur was pure white and flawless. Its pair of pure white big eyes looked innocent and pure, clear and translucent. And the sea of vitality that filled the sky was surging towards it, causing its aura to become even more vigorous. The little white beast seemed to be surrounded by a white ocean that contained a majestic vitality, causing the surrounding world to tremble violently. It was as if all the vitality between heaven and earth had gathered on the little white beast. This little beast. This is... Ji Sky suddenly trembled all over, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Your Highness Ji Sky, do you know this little beast? Blood Origin Alchemy Saint asked. He was extremely shocked because even he didn't recognize the origin of this little white beast. However, the appearance of this little white beast was extremely shocking. If I'm not wrong, this little white beast is very likely the legendary life source beast. Ji Sky lowered his voice and said with great excitement. Life source beast? Could it be the sacred beast under the Life Empress in ancient times? Legend has it that it is immortal and controls the origin of life. However, the great calamity of ancient times was too tragic. Countless powerhouses fell, and the life source beast and the life empress disappeared in the endless years. Blood origin alchemy saint was also shocked. He knew a little about the origin of the great Zhou divine kingdom. According to legend, the ancestor of the great Zhou divine kingdom had a supreme empress who was peerless in her generation. She was the life empress. The life empress controlled the life heavenly Tao and was immortal. She also had a life source beast under her. Not only was it extremely powerful, but it would also never die. No matter how serious its injuries were, it would be able to recover in an instant. It was rumored that the blood of the life source beast was known as the life source blood. It contained the power of the origin of life and was comparable to a supreme sacred pill that could prolong one's life. Even a saint who was nearing the end of his lifespan could instantly restore his majestic lifespan if he took a drop. It's very possible. I once saw a portrait in my clan's forbidden area. The aura of the life source beast is very similar to this little white beast. Blood origin alchemy saint, I must get hold of this little white beast. When the time comes, I will definitely be able to obtain the life secret technique and even the inheritance of the life empress. Uncle, please lend me a hand. G. Sky said seriously, his eyes filled with a blazing look. He had absolute trust in the blood origin pill sage. Otherwise, he wouldn't have told this secret to the blood origin pill sage. This was because no one knew that the blood origin pill sage had another identity. He was Ji Tian's uncle. Don't worry. This little white beast is yours, no one can take it. Flipping the sky seal. Of an ant. The blood origin alchemy saint transmitted his voice. The identity between the two of them was very important, and it could not be revealed. Ling Xiao only sensed that the little white beast was full of life aura, which was very similar to the ancient tree of life's aura. The wordless heavenly book was trembling violently, as if it couldn't wait to swallow the little white beast. However, the wordless heavenly book was suppressed by Ling Xiao. This was no ordinary creature. It would be a waste if it was swallowed by the wordless heavenly book just like that. Ling Xiao, this little white beast, is a life source beast. Ji Feishuan transmitted her voice to Ling Xiao. She couldn't hide the excitement and joy in her voice. A life source beast? Ling Xiao asked curiously. He had never heard of the origin of a life source beast. The life source beast is the life empress lifebound beast. It's very important to us. With it, we don't even need to wait for the Musashi Mountain to open. The Musashi Mountain was left behind by the life empress. Following Ji Feishuan's explanation, Ling Xiao gradually understood how powerful the life source beast was. This life source beast was not like the four sacred beasts, dragon, phoenix, black tortoise, and white tiger, who had powerful clans and were once the overlords of heaven and earth. Instead, it was a little similar to the divine skymend butterfly. It was born from heaven and earth and raised by nature. It was extremely difficult for it to reproduce, but it had an incomparably terrifying innate talent. Don't worry. No one can take away the treasure I cut out. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, his eyes full of sharpness. He took a deep look at Ji Tian and the blood origin pill saint in the distance, because he could see that there was a trace of burning light in their eyes. Could it be that Ji Tian and the blood origin pill saint had also recognized the origin of the life source beast? Lord Blood Origin Pill Saint, what kind of creature is this little beast? Do you know it? Someone finally couldn't help but ask. Everyone was very curious. Perhaps the Blood Origin Pill Saint was the only one who knew the origin of this mysterious little beast. The Blood Origin Pill Saint's eyes flashed. The little white beast was still floating in the void, devouring the energy of heaven and earth. Its aura was getting stronger and stronger, but it was only comparable to a deity realm expert. However, its life aura was very rich and mysterious, and it looked like a life source beast in its infancy. The Blood Origin Pill Saint was slightly relieved. He then said slowly, "This is a prehistoric white spirit beast that was almost lost in the ancient times. Its body contains a boundless life force. When it reaches adulthood, its flesh and blood can be used to refine saint elixirs that can prolong one's life. However, the white spirit beast grows slowly and needs to devour all kinds of natural treasures. It will take at least 10,000 years for it to reach adulthood. This white spirit beast is only in its infancy, so it's not very valuable. If you sell it to me, I can give you 500,000 drops of saint elixir. So, it's a white spirit beast. I've also heard that the white spirit beast is a prehistoric variant. Its flesh and blood can be used to refine life-prolonging pills, but it's only useful for experts below the saint realm. Although a white spirit beast in its infancy is rare, it's not very valuable. Someone suddenly realized that the white spirit beast was a prehistoric variant. Although it was rare to see, it was not unheard of in the deity world. Some people had heard of its origin. A white spirit beast in its infancy was indeed not very valuable. The blood origin pill saint is really generous. I think this white spirit beast is not even worth 100,000 drops of saint elixir. The blood origin pill saint is willing to pay 500,000 drops of saint elixir. This kid is really lucky. Tisk tsk? 500 drops of saint elixir for the Een Wind stone. He can actually get a white spirit beast? This Long Outyin is really lucky. Yes, it must be luck. 500,000 drops of saint elixir is a 1,000-fold increase. I'm afraid this kid is going crazy with joy. Hee hee, so what if it's a 1,000-fold increase? The blood origin pill saint and Long Outyin are gambling stones. The loser has to agree to one condition of the winner. Long Outyin has already lost. No matter how precious the white spirit beast is, it's not as precious as the soul-extinguishing divine eye. The blood origin pill saint wants the white spirit beast. Long Outyin can't do anything about it. Chapter 1736. Everyone was rejoicing in Ling Zhao's misfortune. Just a moment ago, they were saying that no treasure could be found in the Een Wind stone. In the end, Ling Zhao actually managed to find a white spirit beast. This was like a slap to their faces. At this moment, they were rejoicing in Ling Zhao's misfortune. It was as if they wanted to take revenge on Ling Zhao. White spirit beast. This Shui Yuanzi is simply shameless. He actually called the life source beast a white spirit beast? His ability to misrepresent a deer as a horse is really brilliant. Ji Feishuan was immediately enraged. She had a calm temperament and rarely argued with others. However, the blood origin elixir saint's shamelessness had completely enraged her. This was also because the white spirit beast looked very similar to the life source beast in appearance and exuded a strong aura of life. Ordinary people would not be able to tell the difference, let alone know about the life source beast. In addition, they worshipped and trusted the blood origin elixir saint, so they naturally believed what he said. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of coldness as he sneered, Shui Yuanzi is indeed shameless. However, I'm afraid that Crown Prince Ji Tian has recognized the origin of the life source beast and wants to get it. That's why he dares to misrepresent a deer as a horse. Don't worry, I'd like to see how they can take the life source beast from me. A trace of tyrannical killing intent emerged in Ling Zhao's heart. He really did not care about Ji Tian and the blood origin elixir saint. At worst, he would flip the table and use the flipping sky seal to kill this group of shameless people. Then, he would kill his way out of Tiandu City. Ling Zhao really wanted to see if anyone in Tiandu City could stop him. The blood origin elixir saint glanced at Ling Zhao and smiled faintly. Temple Master Long is really good. I didn't expect that a treasure could be found in the Een Wind stone. It seems that I was wrong. This time, I can only say that you let me win the stone bet. However, I won't take advantage of you. I like this white spirit beast very much. If you give it to me, I'm willing to compensate you with 500,000 drops of saint liquid. What do you think? In the blood origin pill saint's opinion, Ling Zhao definitely wouldn't recognize a life source beast. He had won the stone gambling bet with Ling Zhao. His condition was the white spirit beast, and he had even given Ling Zhao 500,000 drops of sacred liquid. Ling Xiao would definitely accept his offer and then go along with it. 500,000 drops of saint liquid? The blood essence pill saint was truly righteous. You clearly won the stone bet with Long Out Yin, but you're still willing to give him 500,000 drops of holy elixir. I'm really impressed by your generosity. Someone exclaimed, his eyes full of admiration. In their opinion, the blood origin elixir saint had won the stone gambling, but he had only asked for the white spirit beast. Ling Xiao had nothing to say, but the blood origin elixir saint was still willing to give Ling Xiao 500,000 drops of holy liquid. Long Outyin, hurry up and bring Bai Ling out. Master is willing to give you 500,000 drops of holy liquid. That's a bargain for you. Ji Chen and Yun Yang said with a look of jealousy. Everyone's gaze landed on Ling Xiao. They all thought that Ling Xiao would definitely hand over the white spirit beast. Rumble. At this moment, a dazzling light bloomed in the void. The white spirit beast devoured all the energy of heaven and earth in an instant, and it looked even more intelligent and mysterious. Its beautiful big eyes were clear, but there was a hint of confusion at this moment. Suddenly, it turned into a stream of light and landed on Ji Feishuan's shoulder. It hugged Ji Feishuan intimately, and a clear childish voice came out of its mouth. It sounded like a 4- or 5-year-old child. Mother! Everyone was stunned. Can the white spirit beast speak? Someone asked doubtfully. This white spirit beast was too cute. Many pretty female disciples looked at it with admiration and envy. They couldn't wait to hug it in their arms and dote on it. It should be. Someone said with uncertainty. Although they had never heard of a white spirit beast being able to speak, they still believed in the blood origin elixir saint's words. Cough cough. Everyone, this white spirit beast has high spiritual intelligence. That's why it can speak when it's still young. That's why I'm willing to give you 500,000 drops of holy liquid. Otherwise, an ordinary white spirit beast would only be worth 100,000 drops of holy liquid. The blood origin elixir saint coughed lightly and hurriedly explained. When the life source beast called out, Mother, it gave him and Ji Tian a big fright. If his words were exposed, they would be in big trouble. Ji Tian, in particular, revealed a hint of jealousy in his eyes. He didn't expect the life source beast to be so intimate with Ji Feishuan. At this moment, he seriously looked at Ji Feishuan and suddenly felt that she was somewhat familiar, as if he had seen her somewhere before. I see. This white spirit beast is really cute. Everyone suddenly realized why the blood origin elixir saint would give Ling Xiao so much holy liquid. It turned out that the white spirit beast had high spiritual intelligence. They admired the blood origin elixir saint's magnanimity even more. He was so open and upright, so righteous. He was truly worthy of being the elixir saint of Pill Talisman Mountain. Palace Master Long, here are 500,000 drops of holy liquid. Please give me the white spirit beast. The blood origin elixir saint was afraid that a long delay would lead to trouble. If the white spirit beast called out a few more times, he would really be exposed. Therefore, he hurriedly handed Ling Xiao a purple golden gourd containing 500,000 drops of holy liquid. He then reached out to grab the life source beast. Ling Xiao didn't reach out to take the purple golden gourd. His eyes were full of ridicule as he said with a faint smile, Who told you that it's a white spirit beast? Blood origin elixir saint, although your ability to misrepresent a deer as a horse is not small, do you really think that I don't know its origin? Ling Xiao's voice was very calm, causing the blood origin elixir saint's hand to freeze instantly. Everyone was stunned. The blood origin elixir saint had already said that it was a white spirit beast, and everyone had confirmed it. What was Long Outyin trying to do now? The blood origin elixir saint's heart couldn't help but sink. The thing he was most worried about had happened. However, he still said calmly, Palace Master Long, this is indeed a white spirit beast. Everyone saw it very clearly. You lost the stone gambling bet between you and this old man. I was kind enough to give you another 500,000 drops of holy liquid. Even if you don't appreciate it, you don't have to slander me like this, do you? Long Outyen, do you still have any shame? As the saying goes, if you agree to bet, you must accept defeat. Is the war god temple really a sore loser? Yun Yang sneered. That's right. Long Outyin, you clearly lost the stone bet this time. The blood origin elixir saint is righteous and still gave you 500,000 drops of holy liquid. How dare you frame the blood origin elixir saint? If this isn't a white spirit beast, what else can it be? Wang Dao also said coldly, his eyes full of disdain. Chapter 1737. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation as they looked at Ling Xiao with unkind eyes. Every one of them was burning with anger. In their hearts, Ling Xiao had become a despicable person. The blood essence alchemy saint was so magnanimous and bold, but Ling Xiao not only did not appreciate it but also made false accusations. In their hearts, Ling Xiao immediately became a synonym for despicable and shameless. In an instant, everyone at the prodigy banquet was targeting Ling Xiao. The blood essence alchemy saint's compassionate look naturally occupied the name of righteousness. Even Ni Shang, Wu Xiong, and Gao Yang looked at Ling Xiao with some confusion. They did not know what he was doing. Shut up! Ling Xiao's face suddenly turned cold as he scolded everyone. His voice was like rolling thunder, instantly suppressing everyone's discussion. Everyone could not help but be stunned. What do you know? A bunch of ignorant and stupid things. Do you really think this is a white spirit beast? Blood essence alchemy saint, even a life source beast can be called a white spirit beast by you. You are really shameless. This time, I clearly won the stone gambling. You inverted black and white, pointing at a deer as a horse, but you still pretend to be righteous and awe-inspiring. You are really disgusting. Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably sharp, and his voice was impassioned. He swept his gaze over everyone and finally landed on the blood essence alchemy saint and Ji Tian. His eyes were full of disdain and cold laughter. What is a life source beast? Everyone was shocked by Ling Xiao's words, but there were still some people who understood the meaning behind Ling Xiao's words. This white little beast was not a white spirit beast, but a life source beast? However, they had never heard of a life source beast. Ridiculous! What life source beast? I have never heard of it. Long Outyin, even if you want to make up a story, can't you make it more believable? You are framing me with a glib tongue. I think you are the one who is truly inverting black and white. If you don't explain it clearly today, I will let your blood splatter on the spot. The blood essence alchemy saint was furious, his eyes filled with cold, killing intent. A terrifying aura rose around him, and the pressure of a ninth revolution half-saint spread out, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently as it pressed down on Ling Xiao and the others. That's right. I've never heard of any life source beasts. Everyone, please don't be fooled by Long Outyin. I think he's just angry because he can't afford to lose. Ji Tian said in exasperation. He couldn't figure out how Ling Xiao knew about life source beasts. Life source beasts were a secret to begin with. Even in the Ji clan, very few people knew about life source beasts. Princes like Ji Chen didn't even know anything about them, so he was still in a state of confusion. That's right. This Long Outyin is a sore loser. How can the War God Temple let such a person become the War God Temple's master? How dare he slander the Blood Yuan Elixir Saint? We must not let him go. Kneel down and apologize. Long Outyin, if you don't apologize, I'll let you bleed here today. Everyone was infuriated by Ling Xiao's words. Their spittle flew everywhere, and some of them even wanted to attack Ling Xiao. Mother, these people are so stupid. Little White is clearly a life source beast, so why are they calling me a white spirit beast? How can an idiot like the white spirit beast be compared to a noble life source beast? At that moment, the life source beast lying on Ji Feishuan's body spoke. It blinked its big, curious eyes, and its gaze was incomparably clear. Everyone was dumbfounded. This little white beast actually admitted that it was a white spirit beast? The Blood Yuan Elixir Saint hurriedly said, "Everyone, don't listen to its nonsense. Long Outyin must have used some method to instigate the white spirit beast to lie." Ji Tian also said coldly, "That's right. A white spirit beast is a white spirit beast. Long Outyen, your actions today are destined to make the war god temple lose face. The 9 imperial obelisk will also be ashamed of you, noisy. Ling Xiao sneered and interrupted Ji Tian. Ignoring the latter's fiery eyes, he said, "The life source beast is the life-bound beast of the Life Empress. The Life Empress is the ancestor of the Ji clan, a supreme emperor of ancient times. Everyone, go back and check the ancient books. You should be able to find some clues. Life source beasts are born from heaven and earth, nurtured by the sun and moon. They are supreme existences favored by fate. How can a lowly bloodline like the White Spirit Beast compare to them?" As Ling Xiao spoke, Whitey proudly raised its little head and stared at everyone with its big, clear eyes. It looked very cute. Ji Tian and Blood Yuan, in order to obtain the life source beast, you didn't hesitate to call a deer a horse and distort the truth. You said that the life source beast is a White Spirit Beast. Do you have any shame? The 9 imperial obelisk and Pill Talisman Mountain have people like you. That's the real shame. Ling Xiao sneered rudely. Only then did Ni Shang, Wu Xiong, and Gao Yang realize that the Blood Yuan Elixir Saint was distorting the truth in order to plot against the life source beast. They were all furious. If they really succeeded, then Ling Xiao would really be a sucker, and the War God Temple would truly become the laughingstock of everyone. Ji Tian and the Blood Yuan Elixir Saint were simply too much. Blood Yuan Elixir, you bastard Jitan, how dare you deceive martial ancestor Long? Shameless dogs, you said that this is a White Spirit Beast. Do you dare to swear the Great Heart Demon Oath? If you lie, you will immediately go berserk and your divine soul will be destroyed. The hot-tempered Gao Yang immediately pointed at the Blood Yuan Elixir Saint and Ji Tian's noses and scolded them. Everyone looked at the Blood Yuan Elixir Saint and Ji Tianqing's pale faces. They were speechless and didn't dare to swear the Great Heart Demon Oath. Suddenly, they understood something. Was this little white beast really a life source beast and not a White Spirit Beast? After everyone heard about the origin of the life source beast, each and every one of them was astounded. Some of them even revealed a blazing light in their eyes. The life source beast was simply a heaven-defying treasure. With the life source beast by one's side, one wouldn't be injured at all. Moreover, one wouldn't have to worry about the exhaustion of one's lifespan. There would be supreme fortune and opportunity. How could they not be moved? If those sages who were nearing the end of their lifespan heard about the birth of a life source beast, they would probably flock over and fight. Everyone, I'm afraid you still don't know, right? You have all been deceived by Ji Tian and the Blood Yuan Elixir. These scraps of the Chaos Stones aren't treasures at all. Most of them are just useless stones. The black-robed young man who cut out the Azure Divine Flower was their accomplice. Moreover, the Chaos Stone that cut out the Azure Divine Flower wasn't a real Chaos Stone. It was a Wanxiang stone that had been tampered with. Ling Xiao sneered and added another heavy blow. Ji Tian and the Blood Yuan Elixir Saints' faces instantly changed. Chapter 1738. Ji Tian and the Blood Origin Alchemy Saint did not expect Ling Xiao to see through the mystery of the Nature Stone. What? Everyone was shocked, their eyes filled with disbelief. How is this possible? We saw the Azure God Flower cut out from the Chaos Stone with our own eyes. How could it be the so-called Nature Stone? Most people still did not believe Ling Xiao's words. After all, the Blood Origin Alchemy Saints' prestige was too high in their hearts. However, after the incident with the Life Source Beast, some people began to doubt it. You idiots! Look at what these things are. Gao Yang sneered as he took out all the fragments of the Wanxiang stone that he had collected earlier. Everyone, I suspected that the Chaos Stone that cut out the Azure God Flower was not the real Chaos Stone, so I asked Gao Yang to collect all the fragments. As expected, that Chaos Stone was disguised as the Nature Stone. Look, these fragments still have the aura of the Azure God Flower. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Is it really the Nature Stone? Everyone was shocked, and they all gathered around Gao Yang. They carefully examined the fragments of the nature stone that Gao Yang had taken out and found that it was indeed the chaos stone that the black-robed youth had cut out from the azure god flower. The fragments of the nature stone did indeed have the aura of the azure god flower. Damn it! Ji Tian's expression became extremely ugly. The blood origin alchemy saint did not look good either. They had thought that the nature stone was enough to pass off as the real thing, so they had let their guard down and did not deal with the fragments of the nature stone. They did not expect Ling Xiao to see through it and secretly collect the fragments of the nature stone. Now that the evidence was irrefutable, it was difficult for them to refute it. Ji Tian and blood origin alchemy saint, you really treat everyone like monkeys. You actually used the nature stone to set a trap and lure everyone to buy these useless stones. Don't be fooled by them. These two bastards are not good people at all. Gao Yang sneered, his eyes filled with incomparable joy. I was wondering why I couldn't cut out any treasures when I bought a few chaos stones. It turns out that they are all useless stones. Jidan, give me back my saint liquid. What a disappointment. Blood Yuan Pill Sage, I admired you so much, but I didn't expect you to set up a trap to harm everyone. I was wondering how that black-robed youth was able to cut out the azure divine flower the moment he came up. So it was all a trap. Give me back the holy liquid. Everyone was enraged. Their eyes were filled with anger as they glared at Ji Tian and the blood Yuan Pill Saint. Everyone calm down. Don't let Long Outyin use you. These were all genuine chaos stones. It was impossible that they were all useless stones. Otherwise, how could Yun Yang, the blood essence alchemy sage, and Long Outyin cut out treasures? Stone gambling has always been unpredictable. The so-called Wanxiang stone was only used by Long Outyin to frame us. Ji Tian hurriedly said. Ling Xiao laughed coldly and said, what a colossal joke. Why were Yun Yang and Shui Yuan Pill Sage able to obtain treasures? That's because you cheated. You must have prepared those two chaos stones in advance. I was able to cut out the treasures because you didn't expect there to be treasures in the Yin Wind stones. That's because my eyes are as bright as a torch. What does it have to do with you? That's right. Everyone, don't let them get away. Return all the holy liquid. Wu Xiong and Gao Yang were eager to see the world in chaos, so they fanned the flames from the side. Ji Tian and the blood Yuan Pill Saint were so depressed that they were about to vomit blood. Their eyes were filled with incomparable anger as if they were about to spit fire. Speaking of which, the reason why they faked the Wanxiang stone was to create a heated atmosphere. Although the quality of these chaos stones was not very good, they were not all useless stones. Otherwise, Yun Yang and the blood Yuan Pill Saint would not have been able to pick out treasures. However, it seemed that no one believed them at all. From the moment the blood Yuan Pill Saint said that the life source beast was a white spirit beast, to when Ji Tian and the blood Yuan Pill Saint used the Wanxiang stone to pass it off as chaos stones, these two deceptions had completely caused the crowd to be filled with distrust. Long Outyin, you've misled the crowd with your lies and framed me. Don't blame me for being impolite today. Formation, rise. Ji Tian shouted sternly. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent. A terrifying aura spread out from his body and locked onto Ling Xiao. Rumble. The sky of Zhou Tian shook. As soon as Ji Tian's voice fell, the imperial garden shone brightly. Divine chains of order sealed the void. Mysterious runes spread out and erupted with a powerful saint aura. They rose up and shrouded the entire imperial garden. Buzz. The sound of swords resonated in the sky. The surrounding aura became incomparably sharp. Sword chi swept across the void and densely covered the sky. It contained a power fluctuation that could kill everything. This is the Zhou Tian invisible sword formation of the great Zhou divine nation? Someone exclaimed. In an instant, his face became incomparably pale. The Zhou Tian invisible sword formation was the great Zhou divine nation's saint formation. Its power was unparalleled. It was supported by generations of ancestors and experts of the great Zhou divine nation. It was a super saint formation that was said to be able to kill a saint. No one thought that Ji Tian would fly into a rage out of humiliation and directly activate the Zhou Tian invisible sword formation. Although Ji Tian did not control the Zhou Tian invisible sword and could not fully activate the power of the Zhou Tian invisible sword formation, just a part of the sword formation's power was already terrifying enough. It made everyone's heart palpitate incomparably. What's going on? This is the power of the Zhou Tian invisible sword formation? Who activated the formation's power and actually shrouded the Imperial Garden? Could it be that an external enemy has invaded? In the heavenly capital, there were also experts who noticed that the Zhou Tian invisible sword formation had been activated. They raised their heads and looked in the direction of the Imperial Garden. Their eyes were filled with shock and uncertainty. Everyone, please calm down. I did not deceive anyone. This is all Long Outyan's scheme. Wait until I capture him and interrogate him. At that time, the truth will be revealed to the world. Ji Tian said coldly. His gaze swept over everyone. Suddenly, everyone could not help but tremble in their hearts and lower their heads. Ji Tian had the cultivation of an 8-revolution half-saint. His strength was monstrous. At this moment, he directly activated the power of the Zhou Tian invisible sword formation. His entire person seemed to have transformed into a sword saint. His aura was incomparably terrifying and unfathomable. Long Outyan, you're about to die. Why don't you surrender without a fight? The blood origin alchemy saint also sneered, his eyes filled with coldness. The matter of the life source beast was of great importance. Although Ji Tian said that he was activating the Zhou Tian invisible sword formation to kill Ling Xiao on the surface, in fact, he probably wanted to silence everyone. The news of the life source beast must not be leaked. Ling Xiao bore the brunt of the attack. Naturally, he was the main target of Ji Tian and the blood origin alchemy saint. Their hatred for Ling Xiao had reached the peak. Chapter 1739. Ling Xiao, this is Zhou Tian's invisible sword array. It was created by the ancestors of the Ji clan and is extremely powerful. It contains hundreds of millions of sword qi that can destroy everything. However, you don't have to worry. Ji Tian doesn't have the Zhou Tian sword and can only control a portion of the array's power. I can take control of Zhou Tian's invisible sword array from him. Ji Feishuan transmitted her voice to Ling Xiao. Great. Don't worry, junior sister Ji. I really want to see how Ji Tian is going to kill me today. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as a sharp glint appeared in his eyes. Ji Tian had revealed his identity and knew that he had the cyclic sky seal. Ling Xiao guessed that Ji Tian probably knew about the battle between Ling Xiao and Huang Tai in the War God Temple. Ji Tian knew that Ling Xiao's combat strength was extraordinary and that he had the cyclic sky seal. If he dared to attack Ling Xiao, it meant that he had something to rely on. He might even have the power to kill Ling Xiao. Otherwise, Ji Tian wouldn't have dared to attack Ling Xiao directly, even if it was for the life source beast. Perhaps Huang Tai was behind this. Ling Xiao sneered in his heart. He really wanted to see what Ji Tian was relying on and what trump cards he had. Dun, how dare you attack here? Do you really want the War God Temple to raise your Zhou divine nation to the ground? Enai Shang's expression changed as she looked at Ji Tian coldly. Bastard Ji Tian, don't forget that the War God Temple and the 9 Imperial Obelisk are still allies. You dared to attack the War God Temple Master, which is equivalent to declaring war on the War God Temple. Do you really think that no one can kill you? Gao Yang's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He was completely enraged. They didn't expect Ji Tian to be so crazy. He had actually activated the Zhou Tian invisible sword array to deal with Ling Xiao during the prodigy's banquet. He had completely infuriated them. Don't worry. I won't kill Long Outyan. I'm just teaching him a lesson. Long Outyan, as long as you kneel down and apologize, say that you're distorting the truth and give me the life source beast, I'll spare your life. How about it? Ji Tian sneered. He stood in the air with his clothes fluttering in the wind. Blazing sword light lingered around him, and numerous runes interweaved, making him seem even more mysterious. He was like a supreme saint who controlled the origin of the sword Dao, and his gaze was as sharp as a blade. Spare my life? Ji Tian, who do you think you are? Come at me if you want to die. Ling Xiao smiled proudly. There was no fear in his eyes as he stared at Ji Tian and Shui Yuan Dan Saint in the air. You're courting death. Kill him. Shui Yuan Pil Saint's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He took the lead and rushed towards Ling Xiao. Rumble. The Blood Yuan Elixir Saint's aura was terrifying. Blood-red flames filled the air, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. It was as if the void was about to burn. In the palm of Shui Yuan Elixir Saint, the blood-red flame turned into a blood-red lion. It roared fiercely in the void and pressed down on Ling Xiao. 10,000 spirits blood flame? I heard that Shui Yuan Elixir Saint's 10,000 spirits blood flame can not only be used to refine elixirs, but it can also burn everything and corrupt weapons. It looks like Long Outyin is in danger. That's right. Ji Tian has activated De Zhou Tian's invisible sword array and Shui Yuan Elixir Saint's 10,000 spirits blood flame. Even if Long Outyin has the flipping sky seal, his cultivation is still too weak. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. Their eyes were filled with incomparably solemn expressions. Shui Yuan Elixir Saint, how dare you? And Ai Shang, Wu Xiong, and Gao Yang were shocked and furious. Their eyes were filled with anger as they rushed towards Shui Yuan Elixir Saint. Lu Yun and Wang Dao looked at each other, and a cold glint flashed across their eyes. Powerful auras erupted from their bodies, and they charged forward as well. Lu Yun blocked Ai Shang, while Wang Dao blocked Wu Xiong and Gao Yang. Junior sister Ai Shang, don't be nervous. Shui Yuan Elixir Saint is just sparring with Palace Master Long. Why do you have to do it yourself? Lu Yun smiled. He looked gentle, but he blocked Ai Shang's path, not giving her a chance to save Ling Xiao. That's right. Long Outyin is arrogant and despotic. How dare he offend Shui Yuan Elixir Saint? He deserves to be taught a lesson. Wang Dao also sneered. Get out of my way. Ai Shang's eyes were extremely cold. Powerful sage aura filled the air, and a sky-blue ancient sword appeared in her palm. She slashed it towards Lu Yun. Wang Dao, you bastard. If anything happens to Martial Uncle Long, I'll fight you to the death. Gao Yang also roared furiously. Blazing flames rose around him, making him look like a resplendent sun. Wu Xiong's vital energy surged, and he gave off an ancient aura as he punched towards Wang Dao. In an instant they started fighting, and they were fighting with real fire. Ling Zhao's eyes were calm and deep as he faced the blood-red lion in the void. However, there was a terrifying aura around him. Shui Yuan, you old dog. Since you want to see the power of the flipping sky seal, I'll give you the chance. Ling Zhao's voice was like a thunderclap that shook the void. In an instant, an immeasurable amount of divine light gushed out from his body. A huge black seal soared into the sky, containing a fluctuation that could destroy everything, and flew towards the blood-colored lion. Boom! The speed of the flipping sky seal was so fast that everyone could only see a black shadow flying out. Then, the blood-red lion in the void suddenly exploded. Heaven and earth shook violently. The blood-red flames filled the sky as if they were going to turn everything into ashes. In the blood-red flames, a black ancient seal soared in the wind. In an instant, it grew to the size of 10,000 feet. It was like an Archean sacred mountain, containing an ancient, majestic, and mysterious aura. Bolts of lightning were emitted from the flipping sky seal. The blood-red flames were shattered by the flipping sky seal, and it rumbled towards Shui Yuan Elixir Saint. Oh no! Shui Yuan Elixir Saint's expression changed. He could feel the terrifying power contained in the flipping sky seal, which made his scalp tingle. It was as if he was facing a real sage. He could not resist it at all. Boom! Shui Yuan Elixir Saint gritted his teeth, and a fierce light flashed in his eyes. He stretched out his arms, and a three-legged, two-eared cauldron floated up. It also soared in the wind, emitting a blood-red light, and flew towards the flipping sky seal. The Million Spirits Blood Cauldron was Shui Yuan Elixir Saint's natal holy treasure. It was both offensive and defensive. Not only could it be used to refine divine elixirs, but it was also an offensive supreme treasure. It could suck people into it and refine them into blood. Buzz. Chapter 1740. Is this the power of the flipping sky seal? It's terrifying, someone said with a trembling voice. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Although they had heard that Ling Xiao had become the master of Battle Hall and wielded the flipping sky seal, the seal had not appeared in the world for 1,000,000 years. Their impression of its power remained in their minds. Now that Ling Xiao had activated the flipping sky seal, not only had he defeated everything, but he had also forced the blood origin elixir saint to the brink of death. Everyone was truly shocked. This supreme treasure, which had shone brilliantly 1,000,000 years ago, had once again appeared in the world. Boom! The 10,000 spirits blood cauldron was hit by the flipping sky seal's peerless attack. The surrounding blood-red flames exploded one after another. The 10,000 spirits blood cauldron trembled slightly and flew backward. The blood origin elixir saint felt an unparalleled divine power attached to the 10,000 spirits blood cauldron, causing his body to shake violently. His chi and blood surged and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The flipping sky seal is indeed worthy of its name. Long Outyen, with your cultivation level, how many times can you activate the flipping sky seal? The blood origin elixir saint laughed loudly. His eyes were filled with incomparably cold killing intent. You can try, Ling Xiao said indifferently. His eyes were incomparably calm. He stood in the air, exuding a faint chaotic light. The flipping sky seal floated above his head. Streaks of black divine light enveloped him, forming a thick and mysterious realm. It was as if any living creature in the realm of the flipping sky seal would be crushed into powder in an instant. I don't believe that you can completely control the power of the flipping sky seal. Long Outyen, go to hell. The blood origin elixir saint's eyes revealed a trace of cold killing intent. An incomparably violent aura erupted from his body, and the blood-red flames surged into the 10,000 spirits blood cauldron. Boom! The 10,000 spirits blood cauldron emitted a dazzling light, and a vast sea of blood surrounded it. Phantoms of 10,000 spirits appeared in the sea of blood, making the 10,000 spirits blood cauldron seem ancient and mysterious. The blood origin elixir saint seemed to have the power of a world. The 10,000 spirits blood cauldron was activated to the extreme, and it instantly suppressed Ling Xiao. Even the blood origin elixir saint's face turned pale. Suppress! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he slammed his palm down on the 10,000 spirits blood cauldron. Chaotic light filled Ling Xiao's palm. The flipping sky seal flew out from his palm like a stream of light. The thick and terrifying domain power erupted and enveloped the myriad spirits blood cauldron. Clang! The 10,000 spirits blood cauldron was also a perfect holy treasure. When it collided with the flipping sky seal, it instantly released a terrifying sound wave that spread in all directions. The surrounding people felt their chi and blood surging and their bodies trembling violently. Some of the weaker experts even spat out a mouthful of blood. It was too terrifying. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. It was like the aftermath of a battle between two supreme saints. It was terrifying to the extreme. If it wasn't for the Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation surrounding the area, the entire imperial city would have been reduced to dust by this attack. Boom! At that moment, a monstrous sharp aura burst out. Sword light illuminated the sky. In an instant, hundreds of millions of sword lights rose from the 9 heavens. Every single one of them contained the power to destroy everything. The sword lights illuminated Ji Tian's cold and emotionless eyes. As Ji Tian shouted coldly, the sword lights converged like a long river and shot toward Ling Xiao from all directions. 9th heaven sword fall. The invisible sword chi was condensed from the purest saint power. It was incomparably sharp and could penetrate everything. If it was only 1 or 2 invisible sword chi, a half-saint expert might be able to withstand it. However, when hundreds of millions of sword chi descended, even a 9th revolution half-saint would feel his scalp tingle. This kind of power was not something an ordinary person could withstand. Ji Tian had chosen the right time. It was when the 10,000 Spirits Blood Cauldron and the Flipping Sky Seal were fighting. Ling Zhao's defense was at its weakest. That was why he activated hundreds of millions of invisible sword qi and attacked Ling Xiao with the 9th Heaven Sword Fall. At the same time, the Blood Yuan Elixir Saint's eyes revealed a trace of madness. The blood-red flames around him surged and poured into the 10,000 Spirits Blood Cauldron. They turned into blood-red chains and tried to trap the Flipping Sky Seal. Senior Uncle Long, be careful. Enai Shang, Gao Yang, and Wu Xiong's expressions changed drastically. They couldn't help but exclaim. Ling Xiao was now completely exposed to the sword qi. The power of the invisible sword qi made them tremble. Ling Zhao's cultivation was only at the first revolution half-saint level. Without the protection of the Flipping Sky Seal, how could he withstand it? Lu Yun and Wang Dao's eyes were cold. Their attacks became fiercer and fiercer. They blocked Enai Shang, Gao Yang, and Wu Xiong, preventing them from rescuing Ling Xiao. They couldn't wait for Ji Tian to kill Ling Xiao directly. If the Battle Hall Master of the War God Hall was killed by the Holy Son of the Ninefold Imperial Obelisk, then the already weak alliance between the War God Hall and the Ninefold Imperial Obelisk was bound to collapse. This was naturally something that the Five Elements Saint sect and the Heavenly Curse sect were happy to see. Is Long Outyin going to die? Everyone was trembling as they looked at the sky with their eyes wide open. One's own strength is the foundation. If one relies on the power of the Supreme Treasure, he will definitely die if he is split apart. Ji Chen and Yun Yang both sneered, their eyes full of disdain. Swoosh. At this moment, a white-clothed figure suddenly soared into the sky. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook violently at this moment. As the white-robed figure appeared in the sky, a huge sword qi that was tens of thousands of feet long swept across the sky like a river, directly protecting Ling Xiao. Hundreds of millions of sword qi landed on the heavenly river and disappeared without a trace. Sword qi unstoppable river. Who are you? Ji Tian's expression changed drastically. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he stared at the white-clothed figure in front of him. The great heavenly cycle formless sword array was the cornerstone sacred array of the great Zhou divine kingdom. It contained extremely terrifying power. Only Ji Chufeng, who controlled the heavenly cycle sword, could use all of its power. Even the crown prince, Ji Tian, only had partial control over it. In the entire Ji clan, there were less than 5 people who were qualified to activate the Dezhou Tian invisible sword array. Chapter 1741. She was a peerless beauty. She was tall, her skin was as white as snow, and her face was beautiful. Her black hair fluttered in the wind, and she exuded an extraordinary aura like a peerless empress. Ji Feishuan had made her move. The disciples of the Ji clan are getting more and more unbearable. Ji Feishuan stared at Ji Sky and said indifferently. Her voice was cold and calm. Who the hell are you? Ji Sky asked coldly. He felt that the woman in front of him was getting more and more familiar. He was getting more and more suspicious. Boom. In the distance, the cyclic sky seal emitted a blazing light and shattered the blood-red chains in the sky. It then slammed into the 10,000 Spirits Blood Cauldron. Countless runes on the 10,000 Spirits Blood Cauldron exploded, and it let out a wail. The light on the 10,000 Spirits Blood Cauldron dimmed a lot before it was sent flying back. Damn it! Blood Origin Pill Saint's face was extremely ugly, and his eyes were filled with pain. The 10,000 Spirits Blood Cauldron was damaged by the cyclic sky seal, and it was not something that could be healed in a short period of time. This made Blood Origin Pill Saint's heart ache, and he was even angrier at Ling Xiao. This guy still doesn't trust me. Ling Xiao ignored the Blood Origin Alchemy Saint as he glanced at Ji Feishuan in the void and said helplessly. Although Ling Xiao was fighting with Blood Origin Pill Saint, how could he not notice Ji Sky? Ling Xiao was confident that he could deal with the sword light that filled the sky. He did not expect Ji Feishuan to make her move. This way, Ji Feishuan's identity would be completely exposed. You're impossible. How can you still be alive? Didn't you die 1,000,000 years ago? Ji Sky's body suddenly trembled as though he had thought of something. He looked as though he had seen a ghost, and his voice was trembling violently. He finally remembered where the familiar feeling came from. It was because he had seen Ji Feishuan before. To be exact, he had seen Ji Feishuan's portrait. 1,000,000 years ago, she was the most talented princess, the most promising person to inherit the throne of the great Zhou dynasty. She was known as the hope of the Ji clan, Ji Feishuan. However, didn't she die 1,000,000 years ago? How could she still be alive? I died 1,000,000 years ago? Ji Chufeng must have told you this, right? He's really something. Ji Feishuan said faintly as a cold glint flashed across her eyes. Everyone's eyes revealed a trace of doubt. Who exactly was this white-clothed woman? Listening to the meaning of Ji Tian's words, he seemed to know this white-clothed female. Could it be that she was also a member of the Ji clan? No one had any impression of the Ji clan from 1,000,000 years ago. Earlier, when Ji Feishuan activated de Zhou Tian's invisible sword formation and dissolved the sword cheese that filled the sky with the momentum of the sword cheese unstoppable river, everyone saw it and felt that Ji Feishuan's identity was extremely mysterious. Ji Feishuan, as a member of the Ji clan, why are you helping the wicked? No matter what you have experienced in the past 1,000,000 years, you are still a disciple of my Ji clan. Could it be that you want to betray your clan? Ji Tian said as he stared coldly at Ji Feishuan. His eyes were filled with indifference. Ji Tian could already see that Ji Feishuan's cultivation was only at the first revolution half-saint realm. Although he did not know what Ji Feishuan had experienced in the past 1,000,000 years, a first revolution half-saint realm cultivation was nothing in his eyes. Even if he could control part of de Zhou Tian's invisible sword formation, Ji Tian was confident that he could defeat Ji Feishuan. Betray my clan? Are you worthy? Ji Feishuan said coldly. Then, she looked in the direction of the imperial city with a deep and cold gaze. In an instant she let out a long roar that shook the sky. Ji Chufeng, get out here! Rumble! Streaks of sword lights were like swimming dragons as they revolved around Ji Feishuan. Her white robe and hair fluttered in the wind as her aura instantly soared. Oh, Mother, you're so powerful! The life source beast, Whitey, widened its eyes as it laid on Ji Feishuan's shoulder and said in a childish voice. Everyone was shocked. Who is Ji Chufeng? The divine emperor of the great Zhou divine nation was rumored to have reached the peak of the 9th revolution half-saint realm several 100,000 years ago. His strength was terrifying. Although he had yet to become a saint, his battle strength was not weaker than a saint. There were even rumors that Ji Chufeng could have become a saint long ago. It was just that he had been suppressing his cultivation for some reason. In Tiandu City, Ji Chufeng wielded the sword of Zhou Tian and could activate de Zhou Tian's invisible sword formation. Even if a saint came to Tiandu City, he would probably die in Ji Chufeng's hands. This woman called Ji Feishuan actually asked Ji Chufeng to get out here? Rumble. Not long after Ji Feishuan's voice fell, she saw clouds rolling in the sky above the imperial city in the distance. Rays of multicolored light shone in all directions, and the void in all directions trembled violently. A terrifying aura rose up. It was as if some kind of immemorial divine beast had awakened, emitting waves that made people's hearts palpitate. A figure with a monstrous aura appeared in the sky above the imperial city. There seemed to be a rainbow bridge under his feet. In an instant he pierced through the void and arrived above the imperial garden. Ji Feishuan, my good niece? So you're still alive? It was a middle-aged man wearing a black dragon robe, green dragon boots, and a flat imperial crown. His face was dignified and indifferent, and his body emitted a vast and mysterious aura. He calmly looked at Ji Feishuan with a trace of surprise in his eyes. It's Divine Emperor Ji Chufeng. He actually appeared? Everyone was shocked, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. His Majesty actually said that Ji Feishuan is his niece. How is this possible? I remember now. 1,000,000 years ago, it was said that the Divine Emperor's position should have been inherited by the princess at that time, and she became the empress. However, For some reason, Ji Chufeng inherited the Divine Emperor's position. This is interesting. Could there be some hidden story? Everyone discussed softly as their gazes fell on Ji Feishuan and Ji Chufeng. Ji Chufeng? A divine light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. He realized that Ji Chufeng's aura was incomparably terrifying. It was far beyond the blood origin pill saint, and it was actually not much weaker than Huang Tailai. However, for some reason, Ji Chufeng's cultivation was still at the 9th revolution half-saint. It was as if he could suppress it, and he had yet to attain the saint realm. This was an extremely terrifying person. Ji Chufeng, I'm back. I'm afraid you didn't expect this, right? 1,000,000 years ago, you killed my father and seized the throne. You killed your brother and sister-in-law. Do you dare to admit your crimes? Chapter 1742. What? Killing his brother and sister-in-law? Could it be that the previous divine emperor was killed by Ji Chufeng? Everyone was shocked by Ji Feishuan's words. Legend had it that the previous divine emperor of the great Zhou divine nation was extremely talented. He had cultivated to the peak of the 9th revolution half-saint early on and was hailed as the most promising person in the Ji clan to become a saint. However, the great calamity 1,000,000 years ago engulfed the entire divine world, and the previous divine emperor had died in the calamity of the demon race. Now, according to Ji Feishuan's words, the previous divine emperor's death had a hidden story. Everyone's gossipy heart began to burn fiercely. Ji Chufeng's expression was very calm, as if he wasn't angered by Ji Feishuan's words at all. He glanced indifferently at Ji Feishuan and said, "My good niece, you've misunderstood. Your parents weren't killed by me. They died in the hands of the demon race experts. Since you've returned, you're still the princess of the great Zhou divine nation. However, the life source beast is an inauspicious object, so you should hand it over to me for safekeeping." Ji Chufeng casually refuted Ji Feishuan's words. Everyone became somewhat suspicious. If Ji Chufeng had been furious, they would have thought that the previous divine emperor's death had something to do with him. However, Ji Chufeng's casual words made them somewhat doubtful. An inauspicious object? Ji Chufeng, so your goal is still the life source beast. However, the life source beast belongs to Hall Master Long of the War God Temple. If you want it, you'll have to ask him if he agrees. Ji Feishuan sneered, her eyes filled with ridicule. Of course I won't agree. Ji Chufeng, since you know that it's a life source beast, you should know how precious it is. If you take it just because you want it, where is my War God Temple? Ling Xiao said indifferently with a trace of sharpness in his eyes. The War God Temple's Hall Master wasn't any weaker than the Divine Emperor of the great Zhou divine nation. In fact, he was even stronger. Therefore, Ling Xiao didn't put Ji Chufeng in his eyes. Hall Master Long, the life source beast belongs to my race. As long as you're willing to return it, the great Zhou divine nation will be eternally grateful. Ji Chufeng said slowly. It belongs to your race? You must be mistaken, right? I was the one who cut it out from a chaos stone. What does it have to do with you? Ling Xiao didn't give Ji Chufeng any face. Ling Xiao naturally believed Ji Feishuan's words. Ji Chufeng killed his brother and sister-in-law and seized the throne. Although such a person appeared to be dignified, he was actually the most despicable and shameless person in the world. Therefore, Ling Xiao did not have a good impression of him. Everyone knows about the relationship between this life source beast and our Empress of Life. This life source beast should have been left behind by our Empress of Life. It belongs to the Ji clan. If Palace Master Long doesn't return it, then don't blame me for personally taking action. Ji Chufeng stared at Ling Xiao expressionlessly, but his voice was filled with unquestionable determination. I really want to experience the strength of the great Zhou divine nation's divine emperor, Ling Xiao said with a faint smile. Young man, it's better to be humble. If you're too arrogant, you won't have a good ending. Although you have the flipping sky seal, your cultivation is too weak. If I attack you, you will definitely die. Therefore, I advise you to hand over the life source beast and avoid physical pain. Ji Chufeng's eyes revealed a trace of coldness as he spoke faintly. Cut the crap. If you want the life source beast, then let's see if you have the ability. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of strong fighting spirit as he spoke without the slightest fear. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook as the flipping sky seal shone brightly and floated above Ling Zhao's head. It was enshrouded in a faint chaotic aura and emitted a vast and ancient aura as if it could suppress the heavens and turn the earth upside down. Ling Zhao's aura merged with the flipping sky seal and began to soar. Very good. Palace Master Long, in that case, don't blame me for being impolite. Ji Chufeng said coldly. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire Tiandu city seemed to tremble. Sword Qi rose up and gathered around Ji Chufeng. The heaven and earth trembled and gathered into a vast river that enveloped the entire Tiandu city. The sword light was incomparably sharp and seemed to form a vast world of swordsmanship. Everyone trembled and felt their hearts turn cold. Dezhou Tian's invisible sword array was completely activated. Long Outyen wants to fight Divine Emperor Ji Chufeng? He's really arrogant and conceited. Ji Tian has only grasped part of Dezhou Tian's invisible sword array, and it's already so terrifying. Not only has Ji Chufeng grasped the array's power, but he also has the supreme holy treasure Zhou Tian sword. Long Outyen will definitely die. The ignorant are fearless. Long Outyen is simply stupid. Everyone trembled as they spoke. No one was optimistic about Ling Xiao. The power of Dezhou Tian's invisible sword array was too terrifying. It seemed to be able to tear apart heaven and earth and bury everything within. It was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao, Ji Chufeng's strength is too terrifying. This is his home ground, so we shouldn't fight him head-on. Later, I'll use the life source beast to open the Musashi Mountain. Let's get the secret technique of life first. As long as I can get the secret technique of life, I'll be able to seize control of the Zhou Tian sword from him. At that time, killing him will be as easy as slaughtering a dog. Ji Feishuan transmitted her voice to Ling Xiao with a trace of worry in her eyes. Don't worry, I won't fight him head-on. However, I'll have to test Ji Chufeng's current strength. Otherwise, even if you get the secret technique of life, it'll still be difficult for you to compete with him. Ling Xiao transmitted his voice. Ji Feishuan's body trembled as a trace of gratitude appeared in her eyes. So, Ling Xiao was fighting Ji Chufeng because of her. Ji Feishuan took a deep breath as a trace of sharpness flashed in her eyes. She was ready to open the Musashi Mountain at any time. After all, Ji Chufeng's strength was unfathomable, and Ling Xiao might not be his match. Sword descending 9 heavens. Ji Chufeng said indifferently. His voice was incomparably ethereal as if he was a saint above the 9 heavens. His words contained an incomparably mysterious and terrifying power. Boom! In an instant, the sky was filled with blazing sword lights. They were like stars that traversed hundreds of millions of miles of the void. They were densely packed, and no one knew how many thousands of them were shooting toward Ling Xiao at the same time. The sword lights pierced through the void, causing the surrounding heaven and earth to tremble violently. The incomparably sharp sword lights contained a destructive power that was more than 10 times stronger than the sword descending 9 heavens that Ji Tian had used previously. Let's fight. Ling Zhao's eyes were blazing. In an instant he soared into the sky. His qi and blood surged to the sky, forming a mysterious resonance with the flipping sky seal. The flipping sky seal contained a kind of energy fluctuation that could suppress everything. With a rumble, it met the sword light that filled the sky. Boom! A terrifying divine light bloomed and instantly drowned the heaven and earth. Only a vast expanse of whiteness was left in front of everyone's eyes. Chapter 1743. Chaotic qi filled Ling Zhao's body, and the flipping sky seal formed a mysterious resonance with him. Runes sprinkled down and covered his entire body. The sword rays that filled the sky were released, and when they landed on his body, it was as if they were shooting into water. Ripples spread out, but Ling Xiao was not affected in the slightest. Rumble! Ling Zhao's aura surged and the chaotic light bloomed. He rushed out of the sword radiance with the flipping sky seal in his hand. His eyes were extremely sharp and he directly suppressed Ji Chufeng. Slash! A cold light flashed in Ji Chufeng's eyes as he roared. In an instant, the light that filled the sky surged. As his palm fell, it condensed into a huge light sword that was tens of thousands of feet long. It was like a vast galaxy that suddenly slashed toward the flipping sky seal. Ji Chufeng carried the momentum of heaven and earth. Although he was not a saint, his attacks contained the laws of heaven and earth. Every strike was like the power of the origin of sword principle. It was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao was facing Ji Chufeng now, just like facing Huang Tai. The sword radiance that was tens of thousands of feet long was extremely condensed. It slashed on the flipping sky seal, causing it to tremble violently. Rays of light burst out from it. Ling Xiao also felt an invincible divine power coming toward him. He couldn't help but fly out. Is Long Outyin going to lose? Everyone trembled as they stared at Ling Xiao's figure in the sky. They could see that the flipping sky seal was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the first revolution half-saint realm, but the flipping sky seal in his hand was not weaker than a peak 9th revolution half-saint. However, the Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation was too terrifying. It was even rumored that it had the power to kill a saint after being strengthened by the ancestors of the Ji clan. This kind of power was beyond a human's ability, even with the flipping sky seal. More importantly, the supreme treasure of the great Zhou divine nation, the Zhou Tian sword, had not appeared yet. The Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation is indeed terrifying. It seems that Long Outyin is going to lose. Shui Yuan Pil Sage's eyes flashed as he transmitted his voice to Ji Tiandao. Ji Sky's expression was somewhat unsightly. Hearing this, he sneered and said, "Uncle is right. This old man didn't use the Zhou Tian sword. The Zhou Tian's invisible sword array's power is only 10% to 20%. If the Zhou Tian sword was used, even a saint would be slaughtered here. I'm afraid that the old man will have some thoughts about the life source beast. If that happens, I'm afraid I won't be able to obtain it. Don't worry. After all, you are his son. Even if he is cruel and merciless, he should know that you are the most suitable person to inherit the throne. He'll give it to you." The blood origin pill saint said with a strange look in his eyes. "I hope so," Ji Tian said slowly, but there was still a trace of worry in his eyes. Rumble. The sword lights that filled the sky didn't disperse immediately. Instead, they gathered together in an instant. Wrapped in the power of wind and thunder, they were filled with endless heavenly fire, as if they were going to burn everything and return heaven and earth to chaos. Then, they pressed down on Ling Xiao and the flipping sky seal. Ji Chufeng's face was cold. He was like the emperor of the sword. Every move of his could trigger the momentum of heaven and earth. It was extremely terrifying. Boom! Ling Xiao controlled the flipping sky seal to block the sword lights again. However, he and the flipping sky seal were sent flying again. Ji Chufeng can actually merge with the Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation. Although his cultivation is only at the 9th revolution half-saint realm, his strength is not weaker than that of a real saint. Ling Xiao thought to himself, his eyes filled with shock. Although he controlled the flipping sky seal, he knew that if he faced Ji Chufeng with his own strength, he would be turned into dust in an instant. He was no match for Ji Chufeng at all. All of this was due to the power of the flipping sky seal. "Master, I can feel that there should be a supreme holy treasure in the Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation. Once that supreme holy treasure appears, the power of the Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation will increase by 10 times in an instant. It will even have the power to kill a saint. It's not something we can contend against." Thunder Spirit King's voice came into Ling Zhao's mind. The power to kill a saint? It seems that the Ji clan really can't be underestimated. Thunder Spirit King, when will you be able to become a saint? If you become a saint, will you be able to contend with Ji Chufeng? Ling Xiao asked in his heart. "Master, I only need an opportunity to become a saint. Perhaps it will take me a few months, a few years, or even tens of thousands of years to become a saint. However, there is an opportunity right now. The Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation was created by the ancestors of the Ji family. With the Tiandu mountain as the foundation, it absorbed the endless energy of Zhou Tian and accumulated an incomparable amount of energy for thousands of years. If I can devour that energy, I will definitely become a saint. However, once I devour that energy, I will definitely be discovered by Ji Chufeng. If he takes out the Zhou Tian sword, we will still have to escape, Thunder Spirit King said excitedly. However, he hesitated in the end. Devour the energy of the Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation? Thunder Spirit King, you are really daring. However, I like it. Very well, let's do it. Since Ji Chufeng doesn't know what's good for him, let's destroy his Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation. Ling Zhao's body shook as a trace of craziness appeared in his eyes. Master, don't be rash. With your current strength, you won't be able to contend with Ji Chufeng. Why don't we kill our way into the Wuzong Mountain and obtain the secret technique of life? Then, when Ji Feishuan and Ji Chufeng are fighting for the Zhou Tian sword, we will definitely succeed with the power of the devouring formation. Thunder Spirit King quickly advised. No, if we do that, I'm afraid Ji Feishuan will be in danger. No matter what, even if we can't completely destroy the Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation, we have to weaken it as much as possible. I've made up my mind. Thunder Spirit King, get ready. Ling Xiao said decisively. Alright, Master, be careful. Thunder Spirit King sighed in his heart and stopped trying to persuade him. However, Thunder Spirit King was a bit touched as well. Although this master of his was cruel to his enemies and a bit overbearing to himself, he was loyal to the people around him. Following a master like this, Thunder Spirit King did not have to worry about being abandoned at all. Moreover, when he thought of Ling Zhao's peerless talent and unparalleled opportunities, Thunder Spirit King became more and more excited. Perhaps following this master would really allow him to have a glimpse of the extreme realm. Long Outyan, you are no match for me. I don't want to kill you. Hand over the life source beast and I will let you go. Chapter 1744. Rumble. The sword light that filled the sky converged around Ji Chufeng like a storm of sword qi. Each beam of sword light contained extremely terrifying power, which could make peak 9 revolution half-saints tremble in fear. The sword light locked onto Ling Xiao, who was in the center, and would deal a fatal blow to him at any time. Don't even think about it. Ling Xiao sneered, and the battle intent in his eyes rose to the extreme. Since they wanted to fight, he would fight with all his strength. Ling Zhao's blood began to boil. His blood qi rose to the sky like a torrent, exuding a monstrous aura. It was as if an ancient fierce beast had awakened from the chaos, causing the entire flipping sky seal to tremble violently. Don't. The flipping sky seal trembled like a strong heart, causing the surrounding void to tremble. The device spirit of the flipping sky seal, Thunder Spirit King, activated the power of the flipping sky seal to the extreme. In an instant, a vast domain broke out. What? Everyone trembled, as if millions of mountains were pressing down on them. They could not help but kneel down, and their eyes were filled with horror. Only 6th revolution half-saints and above were able to resist the vast gravitational force. As for those with weaker cultivations, they were forced to kneel on the ground. They couldn't even stand up. Long Outyan, you deserve to die. Ji Chen and young Master Yunyang were about to explode from anger, and their eyes were filled with humiliation and hatred. The two of them knelt on the ground, suppressed by the vast gravity, unable to stand up at all. Even the Blood Origin Elixir Saint and Ji Tian felt heavy all over, and their eyes were filled with horror. How can Long Outyan be so strong? Didn't they say that he couldn't use the full power of the flipping sky seal without the Saint Path resonance? Ji Tian was trembling all over, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Is this the power of the flipping sky seal? I must get it, I must get it. The Blood Origin Elixir Saint's eyes were burning with passion, and he roared madly in his heart. However, this was only the aftermath, because most of the power of the flipping sky seal had been used on Ji Chufeng. This is the power of a domain? A sharp glint flashed through Ji Chufeng's eyes. In his eyes, the seal seemed to have become the center of this world. The vast power of heaven and earth came crashing down, causing the sword lights around him to explode and be annihilated. Ji Chufeng couldn't help but tremble. It was as if he was being suppressed by the terrifying gravity and was about to fall from the sky. This was the power of a domain, and it was a Saint Path domain that only powerful saints could control. Within the Saint Path domain, saints were invincible. Although Ji Chufeng had yet to become a saint, his control of the Dezhou Tian invisible sword array was like controlling a sword Dao domain. Therefore, he was invincible in this domain. Even Ling Xiao, who had the flipping sky seal, was no match for him. However, he did not expect Ling Xiao to be able to activate the realm power of the flipping sky seal. Kill! Ling Xiao bellowed, his eyes revealing a trace of monstrous killing intent. The flipping sky seal instantly pressed down on Ji Chufeng. The gravity domain erupted. The power of the flipping sky seal was extremely terrifying. 1,000,000 years ago, the Scarlet Dragon War God had once smashed a real saint to death with the flipping sky seal because of the gravity domain contained in the flipping sky seal. Under that terrifying gravity domain, all existences would be crushed into powder and dust. Even the primordial spirit could not exist. A trace of shock appeared in Ji Chufeng's eyes. He felt that if this continued, the Dezhou Tian invisible sword array would collapse under the gravity domain of the flipping sky seal. The saint's sword is formless. All swords return to the origin. Zhou Tian is immeasurable, and I am eternal. Ji Chufeng bellowed, his voice shaking the 9 heavens like thunder. Every word formed a mysterious resonance with the surrounding void. Rumble. After the billions of strands of sword chi around him were annihilated, they actually condensed behind him in an instant. It was as dazzling as a small sun, radiating with billions of strands of holy light and emitting an eternal wave of energy. Ji Chufeng's eyes were extremely cold. As he shot a finger sword toward Ling Xiao, the world seemed to be divided into 2 halves. An eternal saint's sword emerged from the chaos, emitting majestic, ancient, and mysterious light, and slashed toward the flipping sky seal. It seemed that nothing could block the power of this sword. Whether it was the flipping sky seal, Ling Xiao, or all living things, they would all be crushed by this sword. The entire Tian capital was shaking violently. The energy of Zhou Tian, which had been accumulated for hundreds of millions of years, surged, making the eternal saint's sword even more dazzling and mysterious. Master, now is the time. Thunder Spirit King, who was in the flipping sky seal, roared. In an instant, the flipping sky seal and the eternal saint's sword collided. A blazing divine light instantly covered the whole world. The void directly shattered, like a black abyss that was hundreds of millions of miles long, appearing in the sky. The endless turbulence of the void trembled, as if it was going to annihilate everything into powder. A huge black vortex appeared where the flipping sky seal had been. It was filled with a monstrous deathly aura and contained a vast devouring power. The eternal holy sword and the sword radiance in the sky were all swallowed up by the vortex. Rumble. The flipping sky seal was floating in the black vortex, surrounded by endless chaotic chi. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged on the flipping sky seal, urging it to wantonly devour the power of Dezhou Tian's invisible sword formation. Ling Xiao even infused the heaven-devouring secret skill into the flipping sky seal, making its devouring power even more ferocious and terrifying. Tiandu City was built on Tiandu Mountain, and the great heavenly cycle invisible sword formation was attached to Tiandu Mountain. Over the years, it had been blessed by the ancestors of the Ji clan and had extracted vast amounts of energy from the endless void. As Ji Chufeng slashed out with the eternal divine sword, the flipping sky seal found the source of energy and began to wantonly devour it. Thunder Spirit King, who was in the flipping sky seal, seemed to be bathed in milky white Zhou Tian energy, which was the origin of the great ways. At this moment, It poured down like a waterfall, being devoured and refined by Thunder Spirit King. Thunder Spirit King's illusory figure began to solidify, and his aura became more and more powerful and terrifying. The divine sound of the great ways lingered around him, and endless flowers of the great ways fell down. He seemed to have become tens of thousands of feet tall, with purple scales all over his body. His aura became more and more majestic and terrifying. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.